if someone can fire off a couple comments, make sure you know you can hear us.
Yeah, check the mic check 1 2 3. Do the quick audio
mic
thing.
check. That's what I got. I was looking for those.
You were looking for the
lapel,
wireless mics.
lapel
That's
mics.
what you meant with the lapels.
No, I put our.
I thought you wanted to get like actual lapel.
Oh, it's probably gonna happen too. Let's be honest. But no, I put their stickers on.
So which one are you? Are you Ron Burgundy?
No, I'm gray.
You're gray. So I see. I always fancy myself as more of a Brian Fantana kind of guy. Actually,
I see.
60% of the time it works every time.
Absolutely.
Anyways, for folks at home, you'll see, although things did change the last time you tuned in, things have changed a little bit more, actually. In fact, we've done a little bit more updates. The studio's a little bit, there's a few new additions to it. New tablecloth. One of my regular viewers actually cussed me out the other day. She said, "You need to iron your tablecloth." I'm like, "Oh yeah." So I threw a flag over it, so hopefully the Queen doesn't get mad for us smoking cigars on the old Union Jack.
Yeah, it probably won't ruin her day, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, Alberta Boy 74 says all dressed up. What's that all about? Why are we all dressed up?
Okay, why are we all dressed up? Honestly, how could you not be in this space?
Well, I don't know if they can see. Like, I mean, they can see the dress, like the suit, the tie. But do they understand what we're sitting in?
Well, for sure people know about the chairs.
I mean, some people know about the chairs, but not everybody knows about the chairs, right? I feel like we've got to.
That deserves a.
We've got to show the chairs.
Deserves a.
Look at these.
This would be the upgraded furniture.
So this is a lot better than the brown kitchen chair that we had. I think I got for free from the high school like 5 years ago, and we've been sitting down in the shop forever. But yeah, there was a mad search for some really comfy, classy chairs, and I met a guy from Scotland. His name was Dave Montgomery.
Dave Montgomery.
Yeah, top-notch guy. He's been here in Canada, similar to me, right? Immigrated over from across the pond. But he's been here now for like 5 or 6 years, and had these chairs for a project with his wife, and that project never materialized. So, you know, why tie up garage space if somebody can make good use of some really awesome, sweet chairs.
Oh, they are.
So, how old do you think these chairs are?
Well, they brought them over?
Like, I mean, arguably, you could look at them and you could say they're anywhere from today, or maybe not today. they're a little bit. They've got some weather to them, but somewhere between today and like 1700.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I'd say
they're a Queen Anne style, hand carved, maple frame with a silk velvet upholstered finish.
Silk
you know, that's it right uptown, right? So, I mean, these are expensive chairs. These chairs are actually custom made by the Bates Furniture Company out of Kitchener, Ontario.
Okay.
That one was made in 1966, and this one was made in 1967. So.
Damon is in. Says loves it.
Damon's in. Perfect.
Yeah, so you can't really do these chairs justice by just sitting in some old greasy blue jeans and.
Yeah, no, it would. I mean,
it wouldn't make sense. I mean, I even feel bad about the hat, but I mean, I'm gonna wear the hat.
Well, I mean, you got to represent.
I want.
You got to represent.
The hat. So.
But yeah, I don't know. Like you just feel in this chair. Like, you know, when you step into a room and it makes you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
That's how. That's what this space was intended to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, you said last week you feel like we've arrived. Well, I think we've got to the next stop.
Yeah,
you know?
And that's it. We were just talking before this started what we're going to do next, because for only 5 or 6 live streams into this, from going from plastic table and a few chairs down in the basement here to
greasy tractor with an oil leak,
right top shelf.
Yeah, like a chandelier, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, we could do.
Really, we'll have to get like
I think lighting is pretty good though.
Persian rug. Yeah,
when
the
we look
lighting's
into
good.
these screens,
Nice warm lighting. Yeah, it's good.
Absolutely.
So what? I mean, you know what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, everybody does. We're your most profitable acre from meat, produce, grains. There's Glenn was wondering if it's worthwhile growing your own grain.
Grow your own grain, yeah.
So we've got a lot of that. We got a lot of that to cover. We'll probably get right into it here. First, I guess, what we're gonna drink.
Well, yeah. I mean, so Dave Montgomery, the guy that had the chairs, right from Scotland. I can't ignore the accent. You know, you sound like you're from somewhere else. He says, "Yeah, I'm right out of Scotland." I say, "Okay, I can't talk to a Scotchman without understanding, like, what's the best Scotch out there? And he said, well, I'm pretty particular, and I like Balvenie Doublewood. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, do we have some of that? And what was it, like 4 or 5 days earlier, you'd actually brought this here?
Yeah, I picked this one up and I picked the Dalmore up at the same time.
Same time.
They were just there side by side, last 2 bottles on the shelf, and I thought, let's do this.
So what's the story behind this?
So interesting enough, what is it, Balvenie?
Well, I think that's
Balvenie, that's what we're gonna say. So that's actually the little brother to Glenfiddich. And actually, William Grant in Dufton, Scotland, in 1886, he invested his whole life savings into the Glenfiddich distillery. This bottle is about 135 kilometers east of the Dalmore distillery.
The distillery is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The climate in Scotland is the best for making Scotch. The humidity, the whole
It's
show.
constantly wet and cold.
So he had good success with Glenfiddich. He bought the Balvenie mansion and converted it into the distillery for the Balvenie Scotch. And that was in 1892, and it was always a blended Scotch. So when they call it a single malt Scotch, that's one distillery, one cask, one, right? All these blended Scotches are mixed from different distilleries. They're mixed from different things. So that's where the single malt comes from. And they ran their first whiskey through in 1893, and then for the next 78 years, they created blended Scotches. In 1929, they upgraded, they got their own malting floor, and this is one thing I didn't know until I looked this up. Like, this is, as far as I understand, exclusively malt barley. And it comes from their own farm that overlooks the distillery.
Really? So they grow their own barley and distill it. Wow.
You talk about reaching the next step. That might be an overseas trip here down the road to go to these
do
places.
A distillery tour.
Right,
Yeah,
do a distillery tour.
That would be cool.
So the Balvenie, they use 100% malted barley from their own field, overlooking their own farms. They got 1,000 acres. The Scotch is aged 12 years in American oak casks, and then it's taken out, and it spends they up to 9 months, I guess, in large oak tons, and then it's mixed with other tons of the similar Scotch to create the Balvenie Doublewood.
So it's an interesting thing, Scotch. You'll notice that, I mean, this one's 1892, that one's 1893, that one's 1874, that one's 1815. Whatever happened in the 1800s, do you think? There was an awful lot of whiskey companies that came to bear.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be able to speculate why they started.
I mean, this distilleries were present, they were there, but they largely distilled for their own purposes, right?
Okay.
And there was some stuff around excise laws and things like that, and you know, the tax man's got to have his piece. But in the early to mid 1800s, it was like some type of disease that they affected all the grapes.
Okay.
In France and like the winemaking areas in Europe, and so you couldn't get alcohol. Or you couldn't get,
couldn't get wine.
You couldn't get the good stuff, right? And so Queen Victoria actually went up to Scotland and, had a wee dram, and then it caught on. It became the fashionable thing, but largely Scotch still really didn't. It's not that it wasn't exported; it was exported, but it wasn't marketed really outside of Scotland until probably the early 1960s.
Okay.
So you think that's not that long ago.
No, not at all.
Now it's grabbed some gears. So what am I gonna expect here? Honey, vanilla. The last one, you could really tell the sherry tone. Right?
Yeah, it's this one as well. It seems that Oloroso sherry is quite big for this. That's where it gets its color. That's where it gets its flavor.
Yeah, it's kind of fruity.
Yeah. It has a
Breathe for a second. little spice up front, a little bite. Kind of lingers on the sides of the tongue, and then definitely brings a little bit of warmth to the back of the throat. Isn't that, so that's good.
Oh yeah, there's
Definitely some vanilla, a little bit of honey in there.
that is a good one.
Yeah, yeah. It's got some spice to it for sure, which is gonna go particularly well, I think, with the cigars.
Yeah, that'll be a funny one when we get into that. This is still at second place to that Dalmore though.
Well, the Dalmore, yeah, I don't know. I think we might have set
What
the
is
bar
that?
exceptionally high there. Exceptionally high. That was an amazing whiskey.
You got more in there. Chad hopped in. Sorry boys, company came over getting drunk and about to dominate at cards. I'll watch tomorrow.
Glenn says, guess I better go get my fancy shirt on. Yeah, I mean, why not, right? If you're gonna sit home and watch and you're gonna enjoy, we should move this because it's kind of right in the middle of the screen for some folks. You're gonna sit down and watch. I mean, you could be in your sweatpants if you wanted. I don't think anybody would judge.
Absolutely not, but there is something to getting dressed up, having scotch, having a cigar, having a good conversation.
So the other day I had asked you, I said, had you ever heard of this term? And it was autonomous, what was it?
Autonomous AMSR?
ASMR?
Sensory
Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, that's what it was. And this is where, and I'd seen some videos, and I'm like, well, I don't get it. Like, what are they doing there? It's just that feel-good feeling, you know, when you get a haircut or a hot shave. There's obviously a lot of other things that some people, it's the triggers for people to you know, provide a positive sensory response. And then you sit in this room, you sit in this chair. I mean, there's just nothing better than putting on a suit and a tie. And there's some folks aren't comfortable with that, but you know, in the right environment and a good glass of room temperature scotch.
And that's it. Yeah, when we had talked about this earlier, you know, I mean, I hope every man has a suit hanging in their closet. And you know what? Once a month.
You know, the last time I wore a suit might be 5 years ago, my old man's funeral.
Really?
And as ironic as that is, I actually I left my $1,200 suit. I left it in England because I didn't have room in my suitcase because I brought some of his worldly possessions back in my suitcase, and I'm like, fuck it, I don't. I'll worry about the suit. You know, I should have left my socks and underwear, but you know, that was kind of a man's priorities. But anyways, I left the suit and brought some of his stuff back, and then yeah, there's been an opportunity to wear maybe a jacket or something like that.
Yeah.
But you know, to actually sit down and hasn't really arrived. But cigars, what do we have for cigars this evening? You picked some up here recently.
Yeah. So the day actually I bought this scotches, I went in and I wasn't sure what stuff Stan had picked up, so I seen these interesting ones, and to me they looked really purple, and I thought, well, that'll be perfect. Let's get those because I've never smoked a purple cigar. My cigar smoking life is actually quite in its infancy, so this is what we ended up with. And apparently these are
not purple, but these, like, I don't know if you can really see how large this is. A behemoth, right? This is a massive cigar.
This is like a 52 or
no?
Is it?
Not even close.
What is it?
This is 6.5 inch 58 ring gauge Figurado box press chisel. Right. So this is a.
I'm gonna grab these cups. We're gonna get cups.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we better get the
I
cups.
just want to get these down.
And then we'll get into these. But yeah, these are one of a kind for sure.
So these up there again, keep these up for now. We are going to give these away. There's one more set after these. I don't know what we're going to do after that if we get more cups, but we'll have something for sure. So to anybody new tuning in, if you are new, Bloom Enterprises cups, Kirkfell Farm cups. All you got to do to enter is just leave some comments, participate in the comments, interact with us, help us out with this as we go, you know, ask questions, converse with other people in the live, and you will be Oh, Jeremy's in here. Jeremy, are you? Jeremy was our first winner of these
Jeremy
cups.
was the first winner, yeah.
He's got them. Sarah's got hers. I don't know if the Sarah and Kevin are in. I dropped theirs off to them when they got some grain.
Damon was our last winner, right?
Damon was the last winner.
His are boxed up. They're ready to go.
His are boxed up.
They're
So
going to be going across Canada here right away.
So I guess yeah. There's only 5 sets.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
Yeah.
Look like a lot more boxes. We will be. These ones aren't to give away. These are originals.
Yeah, these are the Mark 1s.
Mark 1s.
Yeah.
But
much like these. These are La Flora Dominicanas, Chapter 1. They're the very first cigar created by Antonio Gomez. So Antonio Gomez is the son of Lito Gomez, who owns La Flora Dominicana, sorry. So yeah, this is a hefty 6.5 inches, 58 ring gauge. So I mean, it's girthy. It feels weighty in your hand. Like I'm sure at the end of the evening, you know, my hands are going to be tired from holding this thing. And La Flor Dominicana actually owns the patent to this particular cigar shape. It's not a torpedo, it's a chisel, right? So you can see it's got a squared tip, but it's angular. And so there's only, like they own it, it's a patent, right? They only made 100,000 of these.
Really?
Yeah, from 1996 to 2015.
Well, that's why they stuck out in Cedar
Right,
Johnson.
so they're very unique cigars. You can see it has a dark Brazilian wrapper. That's what, you know, that brings that color to it. You can compare it to maybe like aged saddle leather.
Yeah.
Or burnt saddle leather. Like it's got some, like it looks beefy and meaty, right? So it's handmade. Does have a complex flavor profile. When you smell,
well, that's straight up mint.
the unlit cigar, I would say, yeah, I do get hints of mint, molasses, you know, but I've been told that once we light this, it's gonna taste like somebody dumped a box of pepper on a chocolate bar, right? Heavily peppered chocolate is what I've been told. And so then, you know, we'll work through that first third, and then we get into the center. And I've been told again that the rumor has it, anyways, the pepperiness on the tongue may make this, you know, getting through the center and into the third a bit of a challenge, right?
Well,
so we'll see. We'll see if it balances out well with the Scotch. But once we get there, the latter half of the cigar, anyways, is supposed to present with oily, earthy undertones. So it's be like the Fort McMurray of cigars, I guess. Like, just like, it tastes like the oil sands. Now there's
pure bitumen.
right. There's a couple of ways to. So this is, I mean, you see the unique shape to this, right? And then you think, well, okay, well, I want to get my cutter on here. How do I manage to cut this cleanly? So La Flor Dominicana actually recommends you can take the tip, and you can just pinch the tip and break the wrapper open.
Okay.
Or you can cut it. Now, you can also get V cutters or punch cutters. They recommend not using the punch cutter in this because of the angular shape of the chisel tip, that when you smoke it, this is then going to redirect that smoke up and over the tongue and against the roof of the mouth, which can create some harsh flavors, especially with such a full-bodied, full-flavored cigar, right? So
interesting. So there's a lot I didn't know when I bought these.
Yeah.
And that was everything you just said.
Well, well,
so
it's
what
a
are we
good
gonna do?
time.
We're gonna cut these?
Well, I think I want to cut, because if I pinch and I do it wrong, I would hate to ruin.
I give a bit of a squeeze and it opened up. But I mean, you got a real sweet cutter there, so it'd be a shame not to use it.
Yeah, I mean, paid good money for this, so I'll let you
Light them up. Yeah,
Let
we're
you-
gonna be.
oblige yourself.
See if
Glenn
we can
says
do
you're
this.
gonna need a fresh air intake fan when you get those big cigars sparked up. Yeah, you're probably not wrong.
How deep?
Well, I mean, I would only take 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch off, just enough to crack the wrapper off. Watch your eyes.
You
got
before, anyways.
You got a flyer.
Excellent. Oh. Are you using your glasses tonight, Jeremy? Are you having a drink?
Just gonna do a draw check here too.
Or was I supposed to do that first? We didn't do that before. Oh, that smells so good.
Yeah, well,
Oh my God.
what I read today, because of the chisel tip, you definitely want to do, and especially with a box press cigar, you want to do a draw check, just to make sure that you have enough airflow before you light, so that you don't have to re-clip the end a little bit more, right?
Well, there I was there.
Well, good. Just toasting her.
Well, I had a bit of fire on it and it wasn't coming.
No. I'm just gonna set the cigar synopsis aside here for now. That smells really good too, eh?
It does. It smells. I'm not getting the chocolate peppermint.
Well, I don't think it was peppermint.
Oh, chocolate. Yeah, chocolate
Pepper.
Chocolate pepper. I'm not getting that at all. This could be my thing. But what I am getting is not enough heat.
Well, that's the thing with a 58 ring gauge. There's a lot of cigar there, right?
Well, so while we get these going, I got some interesting. I'm going to start this out with should we be growing our own feed, and even profitability for per acre growing grain. So just some fun facts. This year, nitrogen is $2,400 a metric ton. Last year it was $915. Phosphorus fertilizer is $1,350 a ton. Last year it was $830. Urea is $1,190 a ton. Last year it was $560.
Holy cow!
Potash is $1,110. Last year it was $530. And sulfur is $854 a ton. Last year it was $450. So if you're not involved in grain production for the last 50 years, it's going to be a tough one to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, fertilizer prices are just an example. Everything, fuel, maintenance, grease, parts, everything is gone way up. Even used equipment, so, it's you can't find it. It's very, very expensive. So,
Kristen just commented. She says, "Ooh, looking spiffy. Here I am, sitting here covered in cow shit." Well, underneath, so are we.
absolutely, but it's hard to enjoy this space decked out that way.
Yeah, that's really what was missing before, right? That should be toasty.
So as I said,
Cut back rates gone crazy. Have no choice but to cut back rates this year.
it's most likely going to be happening. Yeah, you're going to see people cutting back. One thing we can't understand and is going to be worthwhile watching is the cattle industry. That cattle prices have not come up. If they don't, I think you're going to see quite a wreck.
Yeah, we've talked lots about food shortages before, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, if you put the farmers in the poorhouse, eventually there's just not going to be beef in market, right?
Absolutely, and it's very unfortunate. I was watching the sale yesterday, and just it's just not there. These guys are going to start needing the $3 a pound minimums to make this work, and we're still just breaking 2 for 500-600 pound calves. So I think
when you have a half a dozen puffs and then you take a little nip of whiskey, it changes the flavor profile of the whiskey, like completely. Like this and this makes this almost like a citrus now.
Oh yes,
right?
But I'm not getting anything except for I just breathed in the come out of there. See, Jeremy got 195. I expect those were probably 700-800 pounds. Hopefully,
yeah.
If they were 500, then that's it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
So
what's by the numbers? What crops did you pull here?
So I did the 5 we grow. I did barley, I did wheat, I did oats, I did peas, and I did canola. So let's keep in mind these are going to be baseline numbers. And I did a video maybe even a year ago now about basically what it costs to seed 2,500 acres here in the Peace Country. And what I used, and Sam and I were talking before this live stream, when we come time to figuring this out, there's a tremendous amount of variables. There's so many. So the best we can do is to start out. This is if you don't meet this criteria, you're probably not going to be successful at all.
That's
So basically, if you don't fertilize at all, I mean, you may as well claim organic status and try to get that $25 a bushel.
You can try. Yeah.
Because your bushels are gonna be so low that
Well, that takes years to get there, right?
absolutely.
You know, you can't just say, "Oh, I'm not going to fertilize this year and just go organic." Like that's 7 to 10 years in some cases for some farmers, right?
Absolutely. So Damon wanted to know if we're soil testing. We are nitrogen deficient. We are phos deficient. We fortunately on our little 6 mile circle, we had good crops. We had a very good canola crop last year, and because it got very little rain, it took everything out of the ground. Everything. So fortunately we did some fall tillage. We got some anhydrous put down, and we cleaned some extra peas. So I'll get into that. Where was I at here? Fertilizer rates based on these bare minimums. Seed prices are going to be based on from the low side where you would have your own seed, and all you'd have to do is pay to clean it to having to buy it.
Yeah.
And then I have a column for other, and I just put $10 in there. So in this other column, that's where you'd fill in your custom rates that you got to pay for machinery you don't have, for land rent if you don't have it. That's all got to be factored in, and that number is specific to you. So it could be what breaks it though. That number could go from 10, could go to $200.
That's not going to be consistent from farm to farm.
No, it's not.
Not even quarter section to quarter section in some cases, right?
No, absolutely not.
Wheat King says, "I can't figure out how you can feed cows $8 feed barley." Well, you can. It'd be a slow decline into foreclosure.
No, it's tough. It's real tough. So I started off here with barley. That's going to be $23 to $30 an acre for seed alone.
Yeah.
So 23 being if you have your own and you can clean it, because that's basically then just day price. You're going to want to seed around 2.5 bushels an acre. You got to factor that in. If I sell this 2.5 bushels for $8, I can generate this revenue if I put it back into the ground, rolling the dice. Nitrogen, and keep in mind, I said these are bare minimum levels. I wouldn't recommend doing less than that on our farm. If you live where you got 10 feet of topsoil, maybe you get away with less.
Where does that place exist?
Well, Red River in Manitoba, the Red River Valley.
Well, I guess there's a few places,
the corn belt where they still fertilize heavy, but in Illinois and Minnesota, they got tremendous crops there, tremendous soil.
I'm sitting here like, what type of clay is topsoil?
Right? Yeah, we got a 1/16 of an inch of topsoil. Yeah, that's what we got.
Yeah. So you're a good stiff wind and away she goes.
Absolutely. Your nitrogen on the barley is going to be $108 an acre this year, and your dry fertilizer is going to be $36. Your chemical is going to run you $25 an acre. That other I put 10, so it's going to cost you $205 minimum an acre to seed barley.
Yeah.
Minimum. It only goes up from there. And that other column, like I said, I put $10 in there. If you don't own any equipment, it's probably 50, 60.
Sure.
If you got to rent it out or rent equipment, pay custom bills.
Sure.
But that's the bare minimum for that. Wheat, it's going to cost you $40 to $50 an acre for seed. It's going to cost you $136 for nitrogen. It needs more than barley. It's going to cost you $26 for dry if you put the same blend as your barley. Chemical, generally the chemicals are the same, $25. So it's going to cost you $252, just a little bit more for the fertilizer. Oats, going to run you $27 to $33 an acre for seed, $108 for nitrogen, $36 for a dry blend of fertilizer, $10 for chemical. What makes the barley and wheat chemical more expensive is it has a wild oat component in it, what you cannot spray on oats.
Yeah.
So it makes it a bit cheaper. So your cost on oats are going to be $192 an acre this year. Peas, this is why we like to seed peas. You're going to be around $45 to $60 per acre on seed. Dry fertilizer, we put down 60 pounds of phos, so you're $38.
Yeah.
Peas don't need any fertilizer, but our land is deficient in phos, so we're making that trip. We put it down, you don't lose phos.
Yeah.
You can build it back.
Yeah.
Chemical, $10 for the spray. We figure in about $10 for inoculant. We do inoculate our peas. $10 for others, so you're about $118 an acre to seed peas. Canola, $51 to $76 an acre for seed. That you have to buy. You buy a bag that's 10 acres.
Yeah.
Nitrogen, that's going to be more in line with wheat as a minimum. You're going to need $136 for nitrogen, and you're going to need $45 for dry fertilizer. You're going to need about 19-20 bucks an acre for chemical, so you're going to be around $270 an acre for the canola. So those are bare minimum numbers, and with average yield records in your area, which you can find if you're in Canada, I don't know how the states do it, you can bring up, I believe it's FCC's website or AFSC's, go to crop reports, and they'll tell you based on crop insurance what the average yield is.
Government of Canada actually also has those stats too. I looked them up the other day. They had right up until 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at this based on should I grow my own feed grain to feed my own animals, you got these are the numbers you want to know. Then you want to go to your feed store and find out what it costs just to buy the feed.
I have to ask the question because we think about the original context when Glenn asked us, is it worthwhile growing this feed for myself? How scalable are these numbers?
As far as
is this all washed out, 20 quarters, and then you basically divide those numbers down until you get an acre's volume? Like, how much of that do you get buying power by volume? How much of that is affected by the scale of machinery, bin space, all these things that you would need? I'm just thinking about the little guy that's got 40 acres who just wants to set aside 1.5 acres to grow barley. Are those comparable numbers?
So that's it, and that's why I put this other column in. We most likely, and we don't. So my wife does all the buying. It's actually a pretty cool setup. I'm not really interested in it, and I don't really want to. One thing that's actually shifted to in ag is a lot of the reps she deals with are female, anyways, and seems to just go better. Really does. So she does all of that. So I'm not sure. I doubt. We're only 2,500 acres. I doubt we're in a bracket to get better buying power than.
Okay.
I mean, I expect to get better buying power. You're going to be taking, exponentially more than we do.
Yeah.
We may get a few dollars off over the guy who wants to seed 100 acres, but when you look at the whole thing, 2,500 acres divided by 5 crops. We're not. If we see the 2,500 acres of canola,
sure,
we might get a deal on canola.
That's a different game entirely.
We don't. We see
I understand.
500, 300, 600. So we're actually quite a small farm in that regard. And so, as I said, you're going to want to figure out what your feed costs are now, and then you got to figure out this other number, this other column that I put $10 in. You'll have to make that specific to you. If you own no land, if you own no machinery, if you own that other column, yeah, it could easily exceed $200 an acre.
Yeah.
In custom rates or custom hiring. Even logistically, like if you're looking to do this on a small scale, I'm not even sure if you can buy fertilizer by the bag anymore. So I mean, you're going to need to get a truckload or whatever.
I mean, you wouldn't go to the fertilizer place with a pickup.
No, well, I don't think you can. Maybe you can. I like the research station in Beaver Lodge. They buy their fertilizer. I think maybe. They
I mean, they could probably flash that Government of Canada card and do whatever they want, right? But because I'm sure the government has the buying power, just not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not per location, right? So.
Absolutely. So then I got into, just for kicks, what's your potential revenue then, right? Because everybody likes that. This is let's make it count. This is regardless of if you're growing it for your own use or not. So barley, we figured out it was going to cost you $205 an acre to seed it. I use what I consider fairly realistic average yields. There's a lot of guys that are going to tell you some pretty big numbers. On our farm, we've combined a lot less than most people will tell you that they've combined. So I figure 40.
So you're more honest with your numbers, is what you're saying.
That's or maybe we're just not good farmers. One of the
let's be honest. There's a lot of fishermen, farmers.
Well,
it was this big.
I think so. I would like to think so, but maybe not. So that bushel range is going to put you around 40 to 90 bushels an acre. So we'll use an average of 65. Futures price right now $7.95. So your potential revenue is $311 an acre.
Yeah.
Wheat we figured our cost was $252. So I've taken the cost out of that. So it's the 311 is your potential income
Sure.
off of that.
Yeah.
252 for the wheat an acre, 40 to 80 bushel an acre. And yeah, if someone in the comments thinks these numbers are out to lunch, throw them in there because I'd be interested to know. These I think are realistic for our area.
For our area, for sure, for the Peace Country. Yeah.
Average yield of wheat, let's say 60. Futures right now are $12.65. Now, by futures I mean sell it off the combine in September 2023.
Yeah.
$507 an acre. Oats, this blew my mind. Oats is not a cash crop. Oats cost you $192 an acre to seed. Average yield, 115 bushels an acre. Anywhere between 80 to 150. You should be able to get up here. We grow good oats. Futures price when I looked, I do believe it's depressed a little bit, but it was $8. $728 an acre revenue. This crop could actually generate over $1,000 an acre.
Really?
Gross income. And in fact, last year it did, because oat prices were $9, $10 an acre, and we actually did get over 100 bushels an acre. We probably got around 108 or something.
Interesting. So that's where the name Millionaire Farmer came.
Yeah, well, it could be, right? we had not very many acres of oats because we have a massive wild oat problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And we got to get that under wraps first.
Yeah.
Canola, that's always been, peas here next, $118 to seed, 40 to 70 bushels, that's your range, so 55 bushels average. Futures price on the green peas we grow are $12, so you could actually generate $542 an acre on that.
Still decent.
That's a really attractive one because the risk is so low.
Yeah.
The seed costs, fertilizer costs are very, very low.
Yeah.
Canola, that's a cash crop. Everybody's going to tell you they make the most money on their canola if they make money farming at all. $270 to seed.
But the risk is probably high.
Risk is very high.
Yeah.
And this $270 cost to seed, you'll most likely see farmers double that when they plant canola. They'll put, like, what did I have?
Put way more in.
I had about 171 pounds of fertilizer total. Most guys are well over 200.
Is that right?
Well over. Some guys will make several trips with chemical and they'll spray fungicides, so that'll add to that too. We try not to do that because we like to save some of the money.
So is that because the margin's so high and the risk is so high that they just want to counter?
Yeah, you want if you're going to grow canola, you want to see it through.
Yeah.
Right, and we're not big canola growers, but if we were, maybe I would do things differently. Maybe I'd do it.
Sure.
Futures price today, $21.50. That potential revenue is only $590, and oats are $728. So I foresee Stats Canada, Western producer. If you're out there, you will see oat acres. If people can find the seed, they'll put it in.
Is that right?
They'll totally flood the market, and oats will be $2 again next year.
Sure.
But that's my prediction for what you're going to see coming up.
So we need the OPEC approach where it's just consistent, managed, a little bit of oversight.
Well, we kind of, that's another topic.
Do the responsible thing.
Yeah, we had a single desk that was working
was working.
Was supposed to be working for the farmer, and it worked for some of us.
Yeah.
We were at a butane.
How'd
you keep yours going?
Well, when you sit here for 20 minutes and you don't say a word because you're telling the world about grain.
Oh,
I got time to puff on this thing.
I see.
If you look at, I don't know how long it's been now, 38 minutes or something like that, and how far we've made it into this thing. No, we're 15 minutes, I think. But, we're going to need about 6 or 7 hours to finish these 58 ring gauge. Like, this is like I don't know, like it's like the trunk of a Christmas tree.
It's large.
It's definitely large, yeah. I feel like it's like a Arnold Schwarzenegger size cigar. But for a full-bodied cigar that came with some almost warnings.
Oh, I got that pepper.
You did get it?
I did get it right in the nose.
Well, yeah, you retrohaled right there. You went in and out the other side.
I want to keep it burning so I look cool.
Yeah. One day we're gonna have not dip them, but what do they call that? Where they keep it in the container with some alcohol. Infuse some cigars. We'll have to find some reasonably priced but still good cigars. They say if you start with a cheap cigar and you infuse it, it's just a cheap cigar that tastes like brandy.
Okay.
And it's still not really that great. So you need to start with a good cigar. But
Well, I don't think when we started into this project, there was nothing cheap about it. Like there's not, like you pointed out last live stream, there's not a cheap bottle of alcohol up there.
No,
I don't think there's
not.
a cheap
There's
cigar in
not.
this
Like
box.
the average cost of the bottle is $75. Right?
Even the box, when we were going back and forth on what kind we should get, we were like, let's just get this one. Right? Like, and it wasn't. I mean, it didn't break it. It didn't break the bank. It wasn't free.
Option too, and then they were like $20 a part or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Well,
Spanish cedar doesn't. I mean, you think of the cost of a sheet of plywood, you can just imagine what Spanish cedar costs, right? So
exactly.
a little bit more than barley.
A little bit more than barley. Well, hopefully Glenn was watching because Glenn was the one that left that in.
Well, he just left a comment. I gotta catch up on some comments here. So Alberta Boy 74 says at the moment in my area, the average cost per pound rail weight for beef is $4.50 and pork's $2.90. Every farmer may differ. For sure, lambs and chickens are yet to be seen. I actually have some numbers for lambs and chickens because we do them every year. Wheat King says, is that feed or milling oats?
So those are milling oats.
You're milling oats, okay, good to know. And then Glenn, he said he watched a video that had a chart set up with a number of acres of crop to grow per animal. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I would be very interested if you could share that with us.
Chart. Yeah, because I mean we could probably do the math on the poundage, but when you convert that to bushels per acre, you know that changes the game, right? So interesting.
Oh, Justin is finally here. Good to see you, Justin. You missed the whole thing about growing your own grain, so you are going to be a lifelong buyer of my feed.
Justin Walker.
Justin Walker, because he missed it, so now he's got to keep buying it.
Now he's got to keep coming back. Yeah.
Sorry, better luck,
Or you could just go back.
No, he can't do that.
Can't
Just
rewind.
relax, Stan.
Okay.
He
was probably late because he's probably putting on his suit on.
I didn't tell anybody what we were doing.
No, I did say early on today. I put out a thing on the community page that said things were going to take a bit of an interesting turn.
I know you had me nervous. I was like, what is it?
Well, you thought I wasn't even going to show up with a suit. You thought I was going to leave you to wear a suit and then you'd look like a loser.
It's going to be high school all over.
But I think if you showed up in a suit and I showed up in a t-shirt, I think I would look like the loser. So.
And I think it turned out well.
What if I were to tell you that that's not the left turn we're going to take this evening?
Well, I'm sure it's not. I'm nervous about what it is, though.
You should be nervous. You should be nervous. What should we go over next? What do you got? More crops to talk about, or
that was the whole spiel on the crops.
You had some stuff about animals too, though, didn't you? You're gonna look at beef, or
I'm gonna do beef. I'm gonna do pork. We divvied this up, so we can do beef now. We can switch over to something you want, or we can go on with the beef.
We should talk about lamb because I mean, you know, there's so much lamb in the Peace Country.
Absolutely, I know it's flooded.
We'll get there. We're gonna convert everybody in the Peace Country to lamb when we see these numbers. And the meat just tastes amazing. Actually, we just had 3 done. I'm gonna be taking one. We got one. I
had one before. I didn't get one last year. I got one the year before.
You didn't get one last year. What happened last year? Oh, I think I sold out last year.
I even left a good review on your farm page saying I'd like to be
in the
queue.
And then I didn't save you a lamb.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
The freezer's full. I gotta be honest. We got pork. We got beef. Like that's. I was talking to a guy today that was picking up feed. We are very fortunate in this area. We have tons of access. I wish more people would hear the message. There's so much access to top quality pork, beef, chicken, eggs. There's a lot of produce even grown here. Greenhouses are all summer long. There's lamb.
Red Willow Gardens that we had for years. I don't know what it is now. I don't think it's a garden.
No, I think it might be private now.
It's kind of a shame, right? Because those carrots were...
They were good, yeah.
Oh,
Jeremy hates lamb.
Jeremy hates lamb. Okay, well...
Oh, Justin had to run to town for cigars, and Ontario Farmer is in here. Unfortunately, he missed that too. He would be able to probably talk about corn in Ontario, but we just covered. You'll have to go back Ontario Farmer. We just covered what it costs and what your potential revenue is for oats, wheat, barley, canola, and peas up here in northern Alberta.
Who hates lamb?
Jeremy hates lamb.
Jeremy
go get the cups, I guess.
We'll just drive over there. Nope.
Yeah, these cups are not for Jeremy.
Yeah. No, funny story though. I mean, I hear that a lot, and largely, you know, my mother, God bless her, and if she's watching, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say this publicly. My mother thinks I'm a picky eater, and truth be told, I actually just didn't like her cooking, right?
Oh, okay.
And that's often the case with lamb, is that, you know, somebody cooks it that doesn't know how to cook it.
Mm-hmm.
And you, even with beef, pork, or chicken, you can ruin an amazing
Absolutely.
cut of meat. But you generally do it by overcooking or undercooking or changing the seasoning or something like that. So lamb requires a little bit of finesse, and it requires the right type of seasoning. If you're just going to chuck salt and garlic and, you know, things like that you would typically chuck it
Mm-hmm.
beef, pork, or chicken, you can very quickly ruin that cut of meat. You're going to want to have more floral type scented herbs like rosemary, thyme, things like that. Fruity notes, and they will help bring out the flavor in the lamb that's not gamey, right? That's what I always find with salt and garlic and pepper.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't fit well with lamb, right? You want minty or fruity flavors, but
I guess Jeremy probably knows. I didn't realize that, but he said he grew up on a sheep farm, so
well,
he might not like it for another reason.
You know what? We had dairy cows. There was sheep around. We didn't eat a lot of beef. Lamb was readily available.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's a certain amount of it where definitely I've become acclimatized to that taste, right?
Yeah.
But
well, I know I sure like it, and like I had said too. I mean, like not to Jeremy, but I mean, people gotta dedicate at least 5-10 minutes a day or a week to learn how to cook.
yeah, 100% it is.
You know, buffalo's another one, right? I mean, I wasn't sure I'd like buffalo, and now there's a local buffalo producer, and actually haven't got any for a while because we get we've been full with the beef and the pork, but that's another one. If you don't know how to cook buffalo, and you just throw it on there high heat, and
You can turn buffalo to saddle leather
it'd be like eating a shoe.
7 minutes, right? Doesn't take long. But anyways, by the numbers, cost per acre to raise a lamb. So what I tried to focus on with these numbers is if you had an acre of pasture available that you could raise lambs on, or sheep for that matter, rule of thumb is 10 ewes and 15 lambs per acre.
Okay.
Right, so the average birth rate of a ewe is 1.5, typically, right?
Yeah.
Oftentimes you'll get twins, but you'll get some singles. Sometimes you'll get some triplets. Rule of thumb is 1.5, right? So per acre, 10 ewes, 15 lambs per acre if you're rotational grazing, right? If you're not rotational grazing with sheep, you're probably ruining your pasture, and you're probably taking minimal opportunity with photosynthesis, and actually, you know, you could do a lot more with your grass. You could stretch it a lot further, right? But anyways, I digress. To get 10 ewes and 15 lambs, well, if I want to purchase a starter flock, I'm looking at $2,500, right? That gets me my 10 ewes and a ram. To keep 10 ewes and 1 ram over the winter.
So that's the number on that, 1 ram for 10 ewes?
Well, you can get 1 ram for 25,
Okay.
30, right? But I mean, if you had 10 ewes, you're not going to get any lambs unless you have at least 1 ram, right? So the ratio is a little bit off there, but you need the ram for sure if you're going to get a crop, right? So whether it was 5 ewes or 2 ewes or whatever, you still need 1 ram, right? Because nature doesn't find a way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with beef they say one bull for 25 cows. It's basically.
Yeah. So here we had 40 ewes. We had 2 rams. We sold a bunch this year. We kept 1 ram back, so we have 3 rams here now in preparation for next year. We try and grow the flock a little bit more, but you're not going to get a lamb crop off unless you keep your ewes over the course of the winter, right? Because they're born in the spring. So what does it cost to keep 10 ewes and a ram over winter? So 185 days is generally what we see for a winter period where we've got to actively feed hay, right? Days off of pasture. So now I can't just keep them out on an open field. I got to have some type of shelter. We get a lot of really, really bad weather here. So you can do things economically with, you know, upcycle materials and things like that. But, you know, okay, let's say I spent $2,000 on a shelter, right? It doesn't get you much, but it gets you a 3-sided open shelter that they can get out of the wind kind of thing, right? So $2,000, that's probably, you know, if I use good quality materials and I build it properly, could last me 20 years. That's going to work out to about $100 a year if I amortize it, right? I'm not going to take that $2,000 today. I'm going to say over the course of 20 years, that's what it's going to cost me, $100 a year. So 175 pound ewe, or ram for that matter, is going to eat 3.5 pounds of hay per day, or dry matter per day. Now, a further 1.5 pounds of hay or whatever dry matter you're feeding, it's going to pull out of the bale or out of the feeder and then just spit it on the ground and piss and shit on it, and just out of spite they do that. I don't know why. Or they're terribly wasteful, right?
They didn't understand it.
Yeah. So they don't understand that concept. It's not their wallet. But anyway, so 10 ewes, 1 ram, you're gonna need about 10,000 pounds of hay over 185 days. So 1,500 pound round bales, $75 a bale. I know this year was the anomaly where if you got bales for $75, I mean, you basically won the lottery.
Absolutely.
Right? But that was the average cost prior to, so we're hoping that if the weather's favorable in years to come, that we return to normal pricing. So 7 bales, 1,500 pounds, $75 a bale, works out to $525 to feed your 10 ewes and 15 lambs over the course of winter. Now, they're obviously going to need water. If you're willing to pack them water every single day, good for you. But that I mean, I've had to do it. I had to do it with pigs, and I mean, it gets old really, really fast. So if you're going to install a fixed heated water, you know, the water itself is maybe going to cost you $700. But by the time you get the pipe, you get the power cable, you get the electrician to wire everything in, you get the track to trench your lines, you're about $2,500. But that water is probably going to last you 20 years, right? In some cases, it's going to last you 35 or 40 years.
Yeah.
In some cases, it's going to last you 10 years. But you just kind of meet in the middle, 20 years. Okay, so you amortize your $2,500 over 20 years at $125 a year, right? Then you've got your mineral or supplements. So we buy the molasses that you yourself sell. You know, you could be anywhere from $250 a year to $1,000 a year, depending on your volume. But for 10 ewes, 15 lambs, you're probably looking at about $250 a year, right? So 10 ewes, 1 ram is going to cost you, out of the box, $1,000 just for the privilege of keeping them over the course of the winter. Before you've bred them, before you've done anything, just $1,000 right off the get-go. Now, if you want to do rotational grazing, electrical fence supplies for rotational grazing, probably about $500 an acre. Again, you can amortize that over 10 years, $50 a year. If you're doing the wire. If you're doing netting, of course, that's significantly more. But the beautiful thing about rotational grazing with electrical fencing is, yes, okay, well, I'm in an acre, but I can also pick that up and move it to a different acre. It's not like a fixed fence where once it's there, it's there, and it's going to cost me money to remove it. It's time and money, right? Whereas the electric fence is quickly mobile, versatile, right? So then, okay, well, I have my 15 lambs in the spring out of my 10 ewes, and I raise them on pasture over the course of the summer, rotating grazing. You know, the rotational grazing largely costs me nothing more than my time, right? So each of you will have to attach a number to that, to what your time is worth, what the value is attached to that. But say you get an 85-pound lamb, you dress that out at 55 pounds, and you sell that direct. Like we just sold, like I said, 3 of ours at 6 pounds hanging weight. So 55 pounds, 6 pounds hanging weight is $330, right? The butcher cost then, depending on how you work on that, is anywhere from $75 to $150. There's obviously depends on the butcher you go to, and the arrangement you make with your customer. Some farmers will pay the butcher cost, some will arrange for the butcher and you pay the butcher cost. I would highly recommend you sell your animal, the customer pays the butcher cost, because then they can decide how they want their cut sheet done, right? So 15 lambs average off 10 ewes at $330 works out to $4,950, right? $1,050 expenses, because there's $1,000 expense plus the $50 for the electric fencing for rotating them throughout the summer, right? So that's $3,900 profit with, let's be honest, $900 that's going to go to Uncle Justin, right? It's going to go to the tax man, just for their troubles. But yeah, so just close to $4,000 off of an acre, you know. What's an acre? Oh, if you live in town, it's about four municipal lots.
Yeah.
thereabouts.
43,560 square feet.
Yeah, yeah. So there's money to be made there, but if you're gonna feed 10, you might as well feed 50, and if you're gonna feed 50, you might as well feed 250. Right? Because I mean, you talk about scalable workload.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of hours you have to spend with them probably is very minimal over the course of the year. There's going to be times with okay, if I got to do shearing, instead of taking me 2 hours, it's going to take me 10 hours. I'm going to set the whole day aside to do this.
Yeah.
But largely, my actual over the course of the year time investment from 10 ewes to 250 ewes, minimal time difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to lamb everything in April and May, and I'm not going to get sleep for 2 months. Well, I'm not going to get that anyways with only 10.
Yeah.
Because it's still going to be out there, still going to be checking them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just not realizing that revenue stream, right? So
Justin did have a question. What do you feed them, I guess, aside from hay? What do you feed your lambs?
So the lambs typically, we're looking again birthing April, May. We give a little bit of creep feed, just same barley, oats, wheat mix that we would get from blooms here. But we don't feed a lot of grain simply because although lambs can process grain, it's one of those things where it changes the composition of the meat, it changes the composition of the lining of the stomach, it changes the way they absorb feed. I prefer, again, the flavor profile of grass-fed lamb over grain-fed lamb, and I think that also contributes to some of the people that say, I don't like the taste of lamb.
Okay.
Right? So really largely over the course of the year, the lambs will just get fresh grass out of the field, and then they get about 30 to 45 days in the corrals where they get finished on a little bit of grain. But the ones we had, the late lambs we had last year that were born in June, I kept over the course of the winter. These are the 3 that were just butchered and ate hay, and like, talk about not putting on weight. You cannot fatten lambs on hay and expect to make any money, right? Because all you're doing really with hay, especially during colder temperatures, because there's so much energy goes into staying warm when it's 40 or 50 below, that unless you're pouring the coal to them, you're not going to get any gains. And if you're pouring a coal to them, well, you're just taking those gains out of your own wallet and really realizing nothing.
Effectively buying every pound.
You're buying every pound, and so lesson learned for me when the late lambers, and that was purely by accident, but it's the way it worked out. But those ones should have just gone to toe field when the rest of them went.
Okay.
And they would have been 45 pounds instead of trying to keep them to get them to 85 pounds.
Okay.
But so there was no money made on those 3, but
some years are a practice. Some years in agriculture are practice.
The freezer's topped up, so
exactly.
And I didn't have one. I didn't have one from before because I knew coming into the fall and stuff, I didn't have a lot of hay, so I didn't want to keep a whole bunch, so I sent a bunch to market.
Well, Jeremy says sounds good, Kirk, but not going to sell him on lamb ever again. And you missed a bunch there, I think.
Well, let's have a look here.
Well, that is an interesting one on the lamb.
Oh boy, did I ever, yeah. Dubbing is not sure what that's mean. It came up on YouTube, it's very interesting. Standard 35 chickens will need how many acres of feed grown for those birds? We're gonna get into that here shortly. Not by the acre, but by the dollar. And then Alberta, so Alberta Boy 74, unfortunately, having bad connection issues, so cost of living in the sticks. Yeah, you know what? I did see a guy the other day. He got the Starlink.
Okay.
Starlink internet. It's like $170 a month. Like
Okay.
It's money, but I mean, we get a download speed of 7 megabytes per second and an upload speed of 1.5 megabytes per second.
Okay.
He plugs this thing in, goes and pours himself a glass of beer, comes back out. The thing's found its satellite or whatever it has to find. He does a speed test, and his download speed is like 238 megabytes per second. Like unreal, right? So I mean, I'm not endorsing that brand or whatever at all, but I'm just thinking that's incredible.
Well, I think Justin was planning to get it. Justin's a local guy. I think he's still in here. Would be interesting to see what he gets. So we had a battle with our internet guy there start of the week. We didn't have internet for like 2 or 3 days. Ty Rock says message redirected. I'm not sure what the scoop is there, but
Now I see I let mine go up because I was yapping there.
well, I guess that's why we'll have to go in shifts here. So if the lamb's wrapped up, we'll tackle beef.
Yeah, tell us about beef.
Okay, so beef. Now, Justin Walker, I ordered it. That's
You
what I
ordered the Starlink?
Yeah, it should never in the next. Should deliver in the next week, I suppose. Well, we'll be waiting, Justin. We'll be anticipating your experience. Beef. Yet again, here's commercial beef, cow-calf operations, whatever. Those are going to be things I don't know much about. I can only speak to what we do. We get grass steers. The way we do it, we buy 400 or 500 pound steers in April. We actually just got our 6 more today, so we got our 10.
Come today, hey? That's
Yeah,
interesting.
you betcha. So we let them eat grass all spring, all summer, and then into the fall, it's off to freezer camp. Fortunate for me, because see, there's like you had said, people are going to have to. They're going to have to factor in their time and their dollar for their time. I was brought up on a grain farm, and my dad told me, "You don't get to do that. Your time is worth nothing."
You can't put the mathematics into it. But the reason I say that number has to mean something is because we talked about a previous video. I forget who it was. Was it Chad? That it said, what was the cost to keep them busy just for the sake of keeping busy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and so that's where you got to think, how much time am I wasting that I could be spending on value-added things in my life?
Yeah.
Right.
And I guess for me, the things that I do, I consider them, basically important. So, anyways, back to this. Fortunate for me, I don't actually have to dedicate any time to buying them. With all the people that come and get feed, I've made people from all walks of earth, and I've actually met a few cattle buyers. Now, I'm a small guy, I buy like 10 a year, but he said, yeah, you betcha, I'll watch the sales for you. If I find something that worked your operation, then I'll drop them off. So he brought me 4, another guy that gets feed from me. Last year I got 6 from him, maybe I got 5 from him. And I got a number of animals from him. I got 6 from him today. He kept back the ones that he knew he'd take a kick on at the sale for whatever reason. The cattle market to me is totally crazy. Like, what does it matter what they look like? If they're not red, you lose 10 cents. If they're not black, you lose. They're all the same underneath, and the 9 we raised last year, that was top shelf meat. I guess within reason. They say the Longhorns offer, they say things like that, but within reasons, these general breeds, they kind of are what they eat, I guess. So,
well, there's definitely that for sure.
So yeah, this year the guy got where were they at here?
Longhorns are tough.
Longhorns are tough. Yeah, that's where I was at. I had something in here that was interesting. This is off the cost of beef. Hopefully, we can educate people that are looking to shop local. But like 41% of the people, when I did a poll on our Facebook page, Peace Country Local Food Connection, they don't shop local because they don't have freezer space. They fear they don't have the storage. And if they understood. Like, when I got my first steers, I had to admit, I didn't really understand how much meat you'd get either. But if you think of a cow as weighing 1,500 pounds, and you're like, well, I can't handle 1,500 pounds of meat. You're not going to get 1,500 pounds of meat, right? So we'll get into that breakdown here anyways. AUM, right? That's your animal unit months or whatever. It seemed to be, when I looked this up, it was all over the place. Like if you're in irrigation areas or if you're up here.
Yep. There's no consistent number across the province by any means. Even regionally within the county Grand Prairie, I think there's different numbers depending on where you are in the county.
Absolutely. So that's something you're going to need to figure out based on your area, I guess. We run 10 steers on basically 15 acres of mixed bush and grass, and we don't have an issue. So where do we get 400-pound steer at basically $2, $2.25 a pound? Steers cost us right around $850 an animal. We feed them 5 pounds per day of grain all year long. That's probably something that most people aren't going to do when they're grazing, but there's other reasons we do this. I got 2 kids that want to know where the food comes from, and they need something to do anyways, so they're up there every day.
Yeah.
So that, to me, there's a lot of value in that.
See, that's a value. That's a value that you can't really attach a tangible number to the future of agriculture.
Absolutely.
I mean, I mean, talk about priceless, right?
Yeah.
So when you're 75 or 80 years old and you're crippled up and you're like, what's going to happen to the farm? Am I going to hand this to the kids, or am I just going to phone the guy at Ritchie Brothers and take a bath? You really hope to be able to hand it to your kids, right?
For sure, that is the ideal situation. So I use 5 pounds. Do they get 5 pounds a day? Actually, on our farm, they probably do. I don't know if the horse gets some because he's out there too, but
chickens probably clean up whatever gets left.
Absolutely. So I run that around 25 cents a pound. That's basically where you're going to see rolled grains at. Like processed grains right now, grain prices are high. We basically keep them for 240 days, so that's $300 an animal for grain. Hay, about 6 pounds per day. And you feed them all stuff. So we don't feed them hay all the time.
So what's that, nine months?
We feed them for about 40 days. We feed hay. So there's going to be a bale for April,
yeah,
and a little bit into May.
Yeah.
And now, depending on how long we keep them into the winter, there's going to be some bales.
Sure.
So it's very little. I think, I don't know where I got 4 pounds. Somebody told me that. I don't think it's 4 cents a pound this year.
Yeah.
But I think in a normal year, you should be able to find some decent quality hay for 4 cents a pound. Like I said, when you're doing what we're doing with grassers, you might want to budget in for maybe having to feed them for 40 days.
Sure.
Now, if you get butcher delays, if you get whatever, you're going to want to have that. So that's about $10, really. It's not the end of the world. Land, another thing. It is what it is. If you own the land, it's taxes.
Sure.
If you got to rent the land, if you got to, then it's whatever. Water depends. Dugout, water well. Depends on if you need heated waters for in the winter. Power and fencing, well, you covered that. You said about $500 an acre. You can keep steers in with a electric fence.
Yeah,
with one wire.
Dual band or single band.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
Molasses, well, just because it was new to me this year, when we started bringing it in. So these steers get molasses all year.
Yeah.
It's going to be about 60 cents.
But you're doing that, but then you don't have to have the mineral cost on top because all that supplement's in there, right?
Absolutely, and that's going to be about 60 cents a day. For 240 days, we'll leave it there. They can get what they want. It's going to be another $144. So this brings us to right around $1,305 an animal to raise it. We don't raise them with an unknown market. We raise them for ourselves and a couple of close in-laws and things like that, my brother. So you're going to want to, before you do this, you're going to want to understand the market. That's what I'm saying.
Well, there's market and then there's community, right? If you got a community behind you that can support some of those activities, it drives a lot of your costs down, right?
Exactly. But if you're going to just tackle this and be like, well, I'm just going to get 15 steers and then the rest will work itself out, you're probably going to have a rough time.
Yeah.
And I wish it wasn't the case. You and I, we do our best to spread the word to get people to get involved in the community.
But nobody should be farming as an island.
No, absolutely not.
That's how you get burnt out and broke.
And now for the sake of this, we do an all-in price because number 2, when I did my poll of asking people why they don't shop local, the number 2 was they didn't understand the process.
Shocking.
So they don't understand the cut and wrap sheet. They don't understand how to call a farmer. They don't understand how to line up a butcher. And the biggest thing they don't understand is if you phone a producer, he knows all those answers for you.
Yeah.
And he will help you out, or she, and that will be that. That'll be figured out. So we
I have that every single year. I'll because I have to market, right?
Yeah.
Being that it's lamb, it's not a popular thing. I generally don't have people beating down my door, with the exception of last year, to come and buy lamb, right? I have to go out and actively market it, and then it's engaging in that conversation. Well, what does this look like? Well, I don't know what a cut sheet for a lamb is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can help you with that, right?
Yeah.
And if you literally just if you're interested in it, pick up the phone and call a farmer, and we'll be more than happy to have that discussion about what's your favorite cut of meat, how many of those types of cuts of meat, what the poundage is going to come off, like what's going to be hamburger, what's going to be steak, what's going to be chops, what's going to be roast, all that kind of, because we know, right? Because we've done it over so many years.
Well, I don't produce. I'll even ask them, like how many in your family, like how many steaks you want in a package.
Eat
like,
a day?
Yeah, exactly. How do you want this package? So you don't end up taking out 14 steaks and you only got 2 people in the house. And like you had said earlier, I mean, this meat's going to keep up to 18 months if packaged properly. And you know, the butcher will work with you, the producer will work with you, they'll get this all figured out. For the sake of this, and this is specific to me, I don't expect really anybody to be doing this $4 a pound all in. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
Because that is not a good business model to do this. But like I said, I'm not actively looking to the market.
Yeah.
So, but at $4 a pound all in, that's butcher costs, everything in there. This animal costs $1,900 because they're going to dress out about $475. We choose smaller carcass weight ones.
What's the percentage of a cow? Is it 60% weight, or sorry, 60% hanging weight versus your live weight?
Yeah, so the live weight to hanging weight was around 55-60 on some of these smaller carcass weight animals, which is really good conversion. And then it's half of that again into the cut and wrap meat.
Yeah, yeah.
So ours finished out at about 475 pounds. You're going to, if you're watching this and you're wondering what it costs all in, you can basically double. Most people sell by the hanging weight. You can basically double that. So if I'm selling for $4 a pound hanging weight, it's going to cost you $8 a pound for the cut and wrap meat because you're going to get half of the hanging weight. So $4 a pound at 475 pounds hanging weight, it's $1,900 for the whole animal. The animal costs $1,305 to raise. It costs $530 to butcher. So those costs are together in the $4. So that's going to be $1,835 is what it cost me to raise and have that animal processed for you, which really leaves a profit of $65 per steer.
So not a ton.
Not a ton, and you'll see guys offering up.
You did say at the beginning though that there's a lot of that money that goes investing in the future of your farm.
Oh, absolutely, and this number, I would be disappointed to see producers actively chasing the local market, selling for $4 a pound all in hanging. You should not be doing that. Like I said, this was specific to me, and they were numbers that I used, and these numbers that I use are hopefully to educate people that are watching this that are looking to buy local, that there's not a lot in it for people.
That's right.
So if you're going to sell for $5 a pound hanging, they pay the butcher. That's where you should be, because that's going to generate you a little bit more money, and it's going to make it worthwhile. For me, the whole steers, there were 14 acres there. That farm used to be, they used to back their own animals there. The infrastructure was there.
Yeah.
The lean-tos, the self. The waters, underground water, underground power, it was all there.
Yeah.
It was a sin not to use it.
Yeah.
And like I say, because I'm not looking to chase that market.
So when do you think that stuff was built?
Oh, those waters are 40 years old.
So there you go. So the numbers I threw out, amortization over 20 to 25 years.
Well, it took a lot to get at it, and that's
a little bit of maintenance.
It took a lot.
You had to get electrocuted a few times.
I was shocked. Yeah.
Shocked, quite literally. Yeah. Can you afford a top up, or you're not ready?
Yeah, well, absolutely. A little bit there, please. So I had that in here. It's important to realize these numbers are depressed only because, well, where was this at now? So these numbers changed from last year as well. These numbers, like I said earlier, they're not relevant to commercial cattle operations. That's a totally different set of numbers. That's something that's way beyond me. I don't understand how those guys factor in things. The other thing, when you want to sell meat, and I had this conversation with another guy, I have it with most people, you don't have to really sell the whole amount because meat in the store isn't free.
Yeah.
So you have to sell the ethical part.
That's
the
right.
humanely raised and the more naturally
Locally
raised.
grown.
I don't like to get into the organic thing, if you want to call it what it is.
That's a whole niche of its own.
It is,
right?
But just the more ethically raised animals. Stan and I are both critics of commercial raised.
Yep.
Certainly pork and
not
chicken.
Not a big fan of the feedlots. Not a
yeah.
big fan. Yeah, commercial chicken is a crime. That really is. Interesting comments here, actually. So Alberta Boy 74 just put like a couple, 3 of them on here. So gotta love the barter system. So that's an amazing thing too. Actually, funny enough, I went into Al's News the other day. We talked about it last live stream, as it was an option for cigars, and they went there and talked about some cigars, and he said, yeah, you know what, I mean, there's a price on everything, but if you want to bring us, 5 dozen eggs or something like that, then, I mean, there's a value attached to that too. We can have that conversation. And I was quite surprised to see somebody that's like owns an established business, say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, just have the conversation.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to trade for something?
Mm-hmm.
What do you got to lose if they say no? I just want cash.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and you have a value of something. They have a value of something. You have a discussion. You make an arrangement. The other thing he said was, as a butcher, please call us with questions. We're happy to help. And if you're looking for an animal, your butcher may be able to point you in the right direction. So absolutely, so a lot of your local butchers, I mean, they work directly with local farmers. They literally cut up the meat. So who's a really good judge of quality of meat? You know, when it comes to who's a good producer.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
The good carcass quality. Who's got the good stuff?
Especially the ones who are
Right.
who are true artists of the craft.
You know.
I've watched a few cut them up. You know, you and I both know Mitch mutually. Yeah, they know a lot. If you have questions, I would call a butcher.
Yeah, so you mentioned Mitch, but I mean, so Derek Tretsiak recently, he had butchered ours for a number of years, both beef and lamb. Mitch had come out and done turkeys and chicken, and I phoned Derek here a few weeks back because you know it was time, and unfortunately, because there was a lack or a lull in business, he actually had to close the doors.
I know, and that,
Which
that's
that is a sin too. That's absolutely criminal. Good butcher, but again, that public understanding of buying direct just wasn't there, right? So the demand wasn't there. It's really easy to just go to the Safeway or the IGA and pay too much.
I had this in here. I just want to interject quick. So I didn't even understand this, but I did the math quick. So people think that this is evident that high sales for heavily processed food and low cost factory farm products. So people will think in their head, $8 latte, no problem. $40 per pound tenderloin, that's expensive, but you know what? I'll treat myself, right? They have no problem buying it, right?
Sure.
So then, okay, well, we'll do that on Sunday. We'll eat frozen pizzas for the rest of the week. You actually know what a frozen pizza costs per pound? Now, it might be not on sale.
To make in a factory?
No, to buy at the store. Do you know what a frozen, like, garbage, I mean, they're good, but totally processed, totally garbage pizza, you know what actually that costs a pound?
I don't.
$4.20 a pound.
So what's the caloric value of a pizza?
Well, I mean, it tastes good, fills your gut, and I mean, I guess it'll keep you alive. But the shocking thing to me was when people are asking for $5 a pound for ethically raised beef, or
that comes with tenderloin,
right? It comes with the whole thing.
Yeah.
The cheapest thing you're buying it now, like say, this is not for the guys that well, I buy everything on sale. Okay, you're winning. You're winning. You're getting everything for next to nothing. You're getting a bunch of processed food. Your grocery bill is low. Lots of people do not shop once a month. They get all the coupons. They get all the sales. So you're most likely buying some of these pizzas at $4.20 a pound, which is the pizza has no value. You're paying $4.20 too much.
It's cardboard covered in cheese.
Right? Exactly. It's going to taste like tomato paste and cheese.
Yeah, I mean, I'm as bad as anybody. I do love a good slice of pizza every once in a while, but
well, of course we do, but it shouldn't be the staple. When you can go out and buy.
But I tell you, yeah, when I sear a lamb chop or a good steak, when you cut into that, there's no comparison. There's just absolutely no. What have you got going on there?
We're
starting a bushfire.
I know, but it wasn't lit.
You get a permit for that?
It wasn't lit. I can burn this place down.
Oh man, oh man.
All right, so Justin's got his thing ordered. Tie Rock. Holy, I didn't realize this was a suit and tie affair. Absolutely, it is, and it probably will be going forward.
I think it's a thing.
It's going to be a thing. Stan created this space. Stan and I furnished and decorated this space. Feels good sitting in this space. Stan just got these chairs. I don't know if Ty wasn't here when we showed them all.
I never showed the chairs.
If you're following Stan's channel, you would have seen them. And you can't do this space justice. You can't do these chairs, these cigars, these fine scotches justice sitting in a hoodie and a pair of jeans.
You just can't.
There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, the hat is kind of taboo, but it's my own hat, and I'm representing.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta
So,
represent. I don't have hats yet. I got some. I'm trying to line something up, but people don't want to work these days. It seems so.
No,
I'm struggling with that, but yeah, I don't know. What, a $50,000 YouTube studio? I mean,
this is top shelf.
I don't think we're 50. Maybe well, half of that cost is whiskey, but
Well, I wasn't joking when I said we probably should insure this space.
Yeah, I don't know what, I don't
You
know
can
what,
do that.
Wawanisa's gonna have to say if they knew what was in here,
So that was my beef
so
spiel.
that was beef? Should
That
we
was
do chickens or
that's
what?
yeah. Well, I'm even curious about chickens.
So I did meat chickens, cost per acre to raise meat chickens. Alberta Boy 74 says, sorry boys, can't see getting dressed up after chores. Okay, so before we get into chickens, I gotta have this conversation. My granddad in the UK, every day, he would look like this. Every day. Didn't matter if he was sitting in his armchair, or if he was herding sheep, or if he was digging in his garden.
Yeah.
Jacket, waistcoat, tie, flat cap, every day. Put in the effort. He's an amazing, amazing, amazing man. He's a man's man, right? And you know, grew a large portion of his own food and did it all in a suit.
Yeah.
Right?
We do not dress as
Because he came from that generation, right? And it didn't matter if there was sheep dip or cow shit or whatever that was on him.
Yeah.
You know? It's just, it's not like you could get a fresh pair of jeans, right? Because they didn't have jeans, they had, you know, woolen pants or whatever, right? So it was from a different era, things were done differently, and I genuinely have a long lost appreciation for it. When I left the UK and I came over here, I started working on the rigs as did yourself, right? And it wasn't uncommon to throw on a pair of sweatpants under the coveralls.
Absolutely.
And now, today, to this day, now after having left the rigs, I will not put on a pair of sweatpants.
Yeah, I don't.
I gotta be deathly ill with the flu and in bed with the duvet pulled up and nobody's coming to see me, and then I'll put on a pair of sweatpants just to stay warm.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't
Because
do
to
it
me,
either.
that's I've just given up.
I have the odd the 2 pairs of pajama pants or whatever that you can throw on or whatever for whatever reason if you're sick or something, or you know whatever if you're just kicking back. But mostly it's I try to. I mean, I don't wear a suit,
But don't get me wrong, like when I go out and do chores, the coveralls are on or whatever is going on. But I've just had, I've been yearning for 22 years for this moment. So
yeah.
we can expect this to be sustained somewhat. But
Well, I think it should be. Well, Max Houston, he's just popped in. I don't believe he's been in here before. I never seen him comment. So we'll have to hash the glasses out here one more time too. Explain that to folks that are still in here.
You should go.
He says nice feng shui, and this is our 6th live stream.
Is it 6 already?
It's either 5 or 6, could be 7.
Is
I don't
it
know.
really?
But it started out down just on the main floor of the stand shop here, and track in the background, plastic table.
Yeah, I mean, if you got 12 hours, 13 hours, you go back and you start at the beginning, watch the original live stream. I can't even remember what we talked about during the first one. Passive income.
It was
passive income on the farm. How to make passive income. And you look at that, and then watch the next one, and by the end of the day, you'll arrive at where we are here right now, and you'll see the growth.
Absolutely, and the inclusion in these cups. So these cups, we got these made. There's a Bloom Enterprises cup, and there's a Kirkfell Farm cup. That stands farm. We give them away as a set at the end of the live stream. We go back, we look at whoever's commented, who's ever participated in the live stream with us, and then we put all those names into some sort of a random name generator, and we give the cups away. We've only got 5 sets. We've given away 3. This will be set 4, and we'll have 1 more set to give away. And then I expect we might do cups again. We might do something else. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what it is. Who made the cups, anyways? I know. You mentioned it before when we first started doing this, but I mean, it's worthwhile.
Yeah, so her name is Chelsea. She's a friend of my wife's out of Grand Prairie. She's got the machine. She does this sublimation on these glasses. So that's right into the glass. Now, the original ones at Stannon I have, this is like vinyl, so they're not as good. They're not
hand wash only. They're good. They're right uptown.
No, they're a little bit more. Well, I don't know. They're the original. That's why they're cool.
That's why they're special.
So, but these ones dishwasher safe and everything. She made us up five sets, and I'm not actually sure. I think she does them for other people. I'll have to find out what she calls her thing. Might have to watch it at times 2 speed to cut down to 6 hours. Yeah, well, whatever. It's gold.
Well,
Once you start
Once
in,
you get
you'll
in
be
there,
in
yeah, no,
It's
it's way better than a Netflix special, that's for sure. I'm
It
not
is.
gonna say that to blow my own horn, but I think there's a lot of thought goes into the topics that we talk about.
Yep.
You know, we generally look to you guys as the viewer to be like, okay, what's burning a hole in your pocket, and what do you want us to address, and then we try our very best to do the research on it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, well, I've definitely noticed it in yours. I've definitely noticed it in my YouTube channel as well, where we put less focus in the the day-to-day kind of video, and there's a lot of homework goes into this. I mean, you even said the other day, you're like, if I only put this much effort into high school math, like,
Yeah, where could I be in my
know,
life, eh?
right? It would have been like
Sitting in the 72nd floor in New York City,
Elon
just getting ready to
Musk or something,
litigate.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Would have been doing something
Yeah.
great, and now I'm out chasing steers and plowing fields. But I'm not sure if I'd give that up. Especially the last 2 years has been a highlight to really appreciate a piece of ground,
Oh, that's right.
to be
That's
out of the city, removed from the city, removed from the chaos and the.
Well, every time because I work in Grand Prairie, and every time I'm in there and I have to encounter people, I wonder at their perspective, because we are all creatures of our environment, right?
Mhm.
And it's not necessarily that they're uncultured, but they're inexperienced in how the world really works, right? And we definitely see that when it comes to acquiring food, right? There's a
Mhm.
lack of personal accountability for where the next meal comes from, because it's just too easy to just go to the Safeway, the IGA, the superstore, whatever, and just get some crap from a box or that's in the freezer aisle. You don't think about the guy like us that gets up at whatever time of day and pours their heart and soul in it for however many hours, from dusk till dawn, or dawn till dusk, sorry.
Mhm.
And they get paid. What do you get paid? Not, you feel good at the end of the day, but
in quality of life.
you get paid in quality of life, and there's a certain amount of intangibility to that.
If you can handle
Right.
the stress, it's not so bad.
Yeah, that's right. But we should get into chickens.
On to chickens.
We should get into chickens, and then what else do you have? You have pork.
I got pork, and then I got pork. So I did beef
You got
and pork
pork.
and grain.
You got pork. So, okay, so let's do chickens. You do pork, and then I got a little bit of stuff on things to grow in the dirt. But I think before we get into the garden, I'm gonna take that left turn, and we're gonna see where things go.
Well, I'm nervous about the
But yeah,
left turn.
you should be nervous. So, but anyway, so meat chickens. This year we're getting 100 meat chickens. Last year we got 75. The year before we had 50. The year before that we had 25. So we've obviously been just, as we started 5 years ago, building the farm. To actually just March 31st, 2017 was the day we bought the farm, and it was just a horse pasture covered in frozen turds and just root bound grass, and wind eroded and water eroded, and there wasn't a lot here, and we built the farm from that. And so the chickens, although they are tasty, they do play a role in soil conservation for us as well. So there's a number that I'm going to throw out, but there's also another number that's, again, intangible at best in terms of what they do for fertilizing the soil and adding organic material and tilling some of that stuff in for us, which are free range layer hens. Which I didn't get into free range layer hens because I've done lots of videos on the cost of eggs. But meat chickens by the number. So over an acre you can run 100 meat chickens, and that's why we're going to do 100 meat chickens this year, because an acre is just a really nice round portion of our yard site that we can use. And we use the Pasture Poultry method, so we put everything in during the brooder for 4 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the weather conditions, and then they go into chicken tractors and they're raised on grass. So we buy all our chicks from Miller Hatchery, so we buy the Cornish giant pullets from Miller's. So for 100 of those, it's $3.43 per chick, depending on how many you buy. Obviously that price fluctuates. If you buy 125, it's more. If you buy 1,000, it's less, that kind of thing, right? So $343 for 100 chicks, plus it's $32 for The Merrick's and coccidiosis vaccines, if you don't have that, would probably recommend it. It's not for everybody, but you know, coccidiosis, if you're able to get them out of the brooder really quick, if you're getting them later in the year, probably not a huge concern. But we're trying to get them, you know, April where the weather's still questionable. They're going to be in confinement for a while. We don't want to take any losses unnecessarily. We did get some chickens in our early days that we didn't have history on. We weren't a closed flock at that point in time, and they came with Merrick's disease, and it pretty much decimated our chicken flock. And so now we just get everything vaccinated from Merrick's, because it will take your wallet and just burn it right in front of you, right? So $32 for those vaccinations, and it doesn't matter if you do 25 of them or you do 250 of them. That number is the same, because once they break that vial open, that's how many doses are in there, right? So you're going to need probably, for 100 chicks, you're going to need a 12 by 12 foot brooder. If you were to build that from the ground up, we just have an old shed that we insulated. But if you were to go to the hardware store and build it, it's going to cost you about $3,500. Today's lumber prices, right? But that's going to last for 30 years, maybe more. I mean, our big chicken house is probably 50, 60 years old, right? It was an old grain bin that we insulated and painted up, and it's going to last us for many years to come. But $3,500 over 30 years works out to about $117 a year. 5-gallon waters, they're $70 each. Those things are not cheap. You're going to need 4 of those. But again, that thing's going to last you for 10 years, so $28 a year. Not a huge deal, right? Feeders, the simple cone feeder with a tray in the bottom, they're $50 each. You're going to need 4 of those. But again, if you think, this thing's probably going to last me 10 years, that's $20 a year. The heat lamps with the bulbs, they're $50 each. You're going to need 4 of those. Again, amortize that over 15 years. If you drop it, you're going to break a bulb. The bulbs are expensive, but if you can keep it in good condition, $13.50 a year. Now, while your chicks are in the brooder, you can expect your power bill to increase probably about 15 to 20% for the month that you're running those heat lamps, because they suck a lot of juice, right? So, say about $85 for the course of the year that you're going to run heat lamps, right? Because it's generally what you see your power bill jack up. Now, feed over 56 days. Glenn had asked the question earlier. I don't know, the comment's probably buried here now. What does it cost you to raise the grain to feed those chickens? We're talking about meat chicks. They need a lot of high protein feed. If you're just trying to feed grain like oats, barley, wheat, that kind of thing, you're probably not going to see high enough protein levels to get them to where they need to be in the 8 to 10 week window, or the 56-day window. But you're probably going to have to run 12 or even 14 weeks to get them to that finishing weight. And they're going to be a lot tougher at that age as well. Now, pasture poultry in and of itself is generally tougher than just your Cornish giant that's raised in a cage, right? So we'll get into that in a bit. But anyways, so feed over 56 days or 8 weeks. You got 100 chicks. You're going to need 50 kilos of starter, 450 kilos of grower, and 375 kilos of finisher. So it'd be about $40 for your starter, $342 for your grower, and $285 for your finisher. And those numbers came right from PB Mart's website. So, I mean, that's, anybody has access to that. You go to PB Mart, you go to Keddy's, your local feed store, they're going to be in and around the same price. Wheat King just said, we had chickens on the farm growing up, then everyone got older, no one wanted to butcher them anymore. Now we buy from the Hutterites. For the price they sell them, you can't feed and look after and butcher them any cheaper. So okay, well, we'll carry on with the numbers here, and we'll see how that washes out. So again, we use the pasture poultry method, so we put everything in chicken tractors. If you're going to build chicken tractors for 100, you're going to need 4 of them, approximately 8 feet by 12 feet, in order to give them the square footage they need, again, from that humane perspective. That chicken tractor is going to last you about 5 years. $200 to build, it's going to last you 5 years. So $160 a year. So that's probably one of your more significant costs outside of feed itself. A chicken plucker, if you don't have access to one, we have one that's probably gosh, it's got to be 50 or 60 years old. But again, if you're buying one off the street, $600 from Uncle Wiener's or whatever,
Mhm.
right? And that's a cheap one, right? But that thing's probably going to last you for 25 years, so $24 a year. Shrink bags you buy them on Amazon, $90 for 100 bags. So before your chickens have actually even got to the freezer, you've spent $1,579 or $15.80 thereabouts per bird to get it to that 7.5 pounds mark. So you're between a fryer and a roaster kind of thing, right? So the average price of chicken on the open market in Canada in February of this year was $3.65 a pound. So that 7.5 pound bird should sell at the grocery store for $27.38. So you know what I'm going to say to the people that come to the farm and they say, "I'll give you $10 a bird." You can go eat your hat, right? Now the thing with broilers, I mean, they do have a higher mortality rate because they do put on a lot of weight really quickly. They're typically raised spring through to summer, and so you do take some losses. The average mortality rate is about 5 to 7%. So if we just arguably went to the higher number and said 7%, so you get 93 out of your 100 chickens to mature age at $27.38. That's $2,546.34. So you've profited on 100 chickens. You've profited $966.84. Now, the model that we do, we raise all those chickens and we disperse them amongst our immediate family, right? My mother and father-in-law, brother and sister-in-laws, things like that, and we all have chicken for the year, and that works out really well. And it's significantly cheaper than going to the Costco and buying the cage-fed chickens, which, as you know, I'm certainly not a fan of because it's not humane. It's not. It's a very good reason to raise your own chickens if you have any concern at all for animal welfare. But as Wheat King alluded to, you know, the price they sell these things for, and for the amount of work that goes into it, we make a day of it, right? So we do 100 chickens. We'll come. I shouldn't even say we make a day of it. We do 100 chickens in 3-4 hours.
Yep.
And if you want to get your customers involved in this, and you want to get the on-farm slaughter license, which allows you to do 150 birds, your customer can come out, whether you do an adopt a chicken program or what that looks like, but your customer can come out to butchering day and play a role in butchering, and they can witness their chicken be butchered, and they can take a certain amount of crop share of their chicken back.
Well, I know you had your nephews involved as well, right?
Yeah,
so
same thing. Like, I mean, we've got 4 or 5 year old kids reaching in their gut and chickens, and I mean, they're not getting PTSD from this. They're getting actual solidified farm family values, a good understanding of what goes into their food, instead of just this utopian, misguided opinion of, well, I can just go get this at the Safeway.
It's just a box of chicken.
No, you can't, right? And I've said this before, you know, on butchering day it's a significant day for us on the farm, because every day I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I move those stupid chicken tractors forward 12 feet, and I feed them and I water them and I pour my heart and soul and sweat into those animals, and then 10 weeks later I take 100 lives, right? And that's not a small thing, and those kids need to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So that when the time comes they're old enough, they're buying the groceries, that it means something, right? But anyway, so by the numbers, that's chickens. $1,000 you can make off an acre.
And Max, he had chimed in and he said we said, right on guys, keep it up. For chicken waters, we use old insulated coolers, hole saw drinking holes around it, helps them from freezing and can hold a lot of water for cheap. That's definitely one thing you and I are both interested in is, you know, what do people do? For like, what do you do for feeding pigs? What do you do for waters? What do you do for all of this stuff? Because there's a lot of ideas all around specific to the piece with our harsh climates and stuff like that. Yeah, we're always looking. So yeah, send us a link or whatever, and or a picture. I'd be more than interested to look at that as well. NFE, nothing like Max and Chad with their machete at the old Frankie Butcher Day for traumatizing a 5-year-old.
Yeah, so I'll never forget, you know, as a grown man watching my father-in-law, as good of a guy he is, somewhat inept in order, you know, in terms of trying to butcher a turkey. He had these 2 turkeys, and I don't know. I would say the other turkey got PTSD for sure, watching the escapade. And it's not that it was done inhumanely, but it wasn't as timely as it should have been, right? And it was messier than it should have been. And so we just, you know, last year invested in more kill cones. You can make a kill cone out of a 5-gallon bucket or a traffic cone, and you turn the bird upside down. It gives them a big hug. You know, that upside down feeling almost sedates them instantly, and you can have that chicken from fully alive to fully dead in, you know, less than half a second. It is the most humane thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot more humane than spending 7.5 minutes on a conveyor belt going through a factory and getting your neck ripped open by a hydraulic robot. You know, so anyways, that's chickens.
That's chickens. I guess we got last we got here is pork as a main one. Then you were going to touch on some gardening stuff. So pork, AUM, how many per acre? I don't know. Again, it's to your area. I think around here it's around 10 to 15 pigs per acre. I did get that off of an internet. We had 10 pigs in far less than an acre. We did. I mean, they had access to more than that, but they seemed fine with that. So
well, the acre's grazing space, right? Not roaming space.
Yeah, well, we kind of let them out on the whole 15 acres, and in fact, my wife today she was just putting insulators in, so we're gonna make that whole 15 acres electric, and hopefully we can keep
Interesting.
some smaller things in.
You got a llama.
She got those like dirt cheap, eh? Like just she wanted like several hundred insulators to go around the whole thing, and she did, you know, whatever off the ground, and then the next one a little higher. So we'll see how that works. We tried a thing with pigs. We tried some freestanding panels, wiring some mesh to them. It was a total disaster. Ended up just using electric line, and that was good. So the way that we did our pigs this year generally seems to be similar to what most people are doing. We buy the wiener pigs. I don't have a breeding pair. I don't have a sow and a boar. I don't really want that. Maybe I'll get into that in the future if there's more interest into the pork. Yet again, I'm only raising enough pork for myself and my immediate family.
Sure.
$150 for wiener pig. I think they're all of $150 right now.
Yeah.
This is a lot different than a commercially raised pork. They're pushing those things out 4 to 5 months, right? That's the life of those. Very confined, very terrible.
Pouring the soy to them.
Our pigs last 9 months.
Yeah.
Exponentially longer, so exponentially more feed.
Yeah.
And in fact, I laughed one day, there was some people getting some grain, and my pigs had made it all the way down from the barn to the yard. They didn't gain any weight that day. They got a lot of exercise. Yeah. But to me, that's important. So 40 bushels, I'm thinking, that pig's going to need over 9 months. That's $500 worth of feed at 2,000 pounds, 25 cents a pound. Molasses, I give them molasses in their grain because why not? It's easier to feed them with the molasses in there because the grain isn't dusty then. So it takes a little, it's more for me than for them, but I mean, the pork was great too.
Yeah.
That's about $20. Hay and straw for when it's cold, 9 months in northern Alberta, you're going to encounter some cold weather.
Yeah.
We don't leave them out to the elements. They get, all the animals get, because we have so few, they get basically 1-for-1 treatment. They're treated, I would say, very well. Fencing, because they wreck stuff, I just kind of put $10 a pig because they are hard on everything.
Sure.
And then a 2x4, I don't know, can you get a 12-foot 2x4 for $10? Probably not. Can you get anything for $10?
I think
Probably
they're
not.
like $27 now.
So
I was at the home. Sorry, I was at the Home Depot the other day because I just wanted to burn a hole in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see, for $27, I saw a 10-foot 2x6 that like literally went like this, and I thought, man, oh man, like
decoration piece.
Yeah, like unbelievable. Anyway, sorry.
No problem. So when we get into land and water, yet again, I mean, if you're going to pack them pails and that's not going to cost you anything, that's great. We actually took one of those livestock waters, we dug it down into the ground, so it was a little shorter for the pig, and it worked great all winter.
Yeah.
And it was the only livestock water that did not freeze.
Yeah.
All the ones above ground for the cattle, they all froze. So that was awesome. They had water all year long. But power, it's not free. It's not cheap to run those. I don't know what the power cost. Could be anything. So cost to raise $665 to raise one pig, and if you're going to give it grain and everything. Now to butcher it, $340. Curing up to $200.
Yeah.
So now all in cost of a pig, $1,210 to raise one pig.
Yeah.
Buying a wiener pig, raise it up. This is back to numbers that hopefully folks that are looking to get into the open market can do better. $4.20 a pound, all in hanging weight. That included the butcher and everything, because, as I said, with that poll we did, a lot of people are unsure about all of this stuff. They want to know an all-in price.
Yeah.
So $4.20 a pound we did. That's $1,168.75. These pigs finished out. They hung 275 pounds. They were a little big, but that was there was butchering delays and stuff like that.
Sure there was, yeah.
So we made a profit of negative $41.12 per pig. By far your most unprofitable acre is to raise pork. And that is...
and yet there's still people that come to me and say, well, you could raise a pig for us and sell it to us for $250, eh?
I'm not seeing how. I don't know how.
I can't buy the feed, let alone the pig.
No, the feed this year was tough. Like I base it on that 25 cent a pound, and that's milled, so it's ground up, mixed, whatever. So these prices, in my experience, that's why I use those prices. In my experience, they're unfamiliar with the process, and the worst thing you can do is blindside people.
Sure.
You can tell them, oh yeah, we'll sell it to you for $3 a pound, and then they think, okay, well it's a 200-pound pig, it's going to cost me $600, and by the time they pay the butcher, they're in $1,200, $1,300 already.
Yeah.
Then you're going to lose a customer. Those people are going to, they're going to think they got rooked. It's because they don't have an understanding of it.
That's one thing, with the cut sheet on a pig is significantly different than a cut sheet on a cow or a lamb or something like that, because of all the curing and the sausage making, things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not cheap. Like bacon is not cheap to make.
No, it's not.
Right.
And I've heard that. I've heard that complaint from people in the past. I'm sure had they understood the process off the start, that there was going to be like a lot of curing and a lot of stuff like that they probably would have been okay with it. But when people are blindsided, they don't really like that. So
got a couple of comments here. We should clear this up. So Glenn had asked if Bloom can't supply your meat chicken feed. So the thing with meat chickens is they do require a significant percentage of protein. So in years past, what we've done is just go to the feed store and buy it, right? But what we did last year is we bought the concentrate, and then we blended with the locally grown grains here. So there's kind of a compromise, I guess. Tambor Station, so this is, I'm sure this Kent or Martien, but howdy gents, late to the show tonight, so welcome. You'll see things are a little bit different. We're dressed up, trying to be right uptown, so hopefully you're put on your Sunday best as well.
Yeah.
Wee King says minus $41, and you had to put up with the smell of pig shit. Holy, that stuff stinks and gets into your clothes. But you know what? The pig poop definitely it has a unique aroma to it.
Yeah.
But I will say, we do the deep litter method with our laying hens,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't stay on top of the humidity in that chicken house, there is nothing stickier than the smell of chicken poop.
Yeah.
It will infiltrate the fibers of your clothes, and you're gonna have to wash that 3 or 4 times till you can get it out. Glenn said meat chickens are my want to get involved with, but weasels, coyotes, and lynx also like them as well. Our area is right in the middle of their home. We'll need extra money for the security of these birds. Yeah, so if you're dealing with coyotes and lynx, obviously a larger predator, you're never going to get out of that by security in terms of a sturdier chicken coop or chicken tractor, unless you're using a welder to build it.
Mm-hmm.
Your best bet there is probably an LGD, like a livestock guardian dog, like a Great Pyrenees or a Maremma, something like that. But when you're dealing with things like weasels, raccoons, depending on where you are in the country, skunks, they also like to kind of pick on these things. I would recommend don't use chicken wire in your chicken tractors. Use real hardware cloth and go 1/4 inch. Probably wouldn't go any larger than 1/2 inch, because now if they can get in, then they're gonna make an awful mess of what you got, right? And then Alberta Boy 74 said we charge $2.50 for cured product, so that's probably your bacon, your ham, things like that, right? So yeah. So you put the paper down.
That was my spiel on pork.
That was
my
spiel.
Experiment. I had heard a lot of people say there was no money in pork. When you hear people say that, you think, wow, what are they talking about? There's got to be money in pork. But unfortunately, there is not. Back to what I said earlier, that's born out of the idea that highly processed, commercially raised food in the store is adequate, and I guess it does keep the belly full. It's not ethical. It's not humane.
Yeah.
It's not nutritionally dense. It's really nothing. It's just a way to keep your belly full. So it's convenient.
On the recent survey you did, there was a lady who, I think it was a lady that had mentioned the farmy taste.
Yeah.
She wasn't sure about the farmy. I assume that's in relation to.
It actually got quite a few likes as well. So
she
wasn't the only one that had an experience with this, and yeah, it's shocking to me. You want to ask people questions about do they how much barbecue sauce and stuff do they use to cover up the taste of say a Costco tenderloin, like pork tenderloin from Costco,
or to cover it up, or to give it.
I mean to cover up the wretched
the
taste
rancid
that
taste
is.
of meat. Yeah.
I actually had a gentleman that was getting grain today, and he brought because producers are proud. They're very proud of their product. We're raising a very good product up here, and basically all over. Lots of people. I had this chat. I have lots of chats with people. There's ethical farms all over the planet. Like
sure
we can't think that here in northern Alberta.
No.
There are a couple. There's two things that separate basically meat production from the rest of the world, and this is prairie wide, and that's our climate, and that's our access to barley. So beef in the southern states is finished on corn.
Sure.
Beef in Hawaii is fed like pineapple rinds and sugar cane.
Yeah.
I found this out when I was in Hawaii. They actually ship a lot of their beef to the mainland to be finished and ship it into BC because it's just not. But they deal with such parasitic problems, worms and things like that.
Sure,
that
they
thrive
do.
in these climates, which -40 takes care of.
Well, they thrive in those climates, but too when you massively stock those yards, and so you've got 50 cows to an acre instead of 15, right? I mean it's literally a breeding ground. That's why a lot of the products that come out of the States, chicken, well, even vegetables, right? We're going to talk about vegetables here right away, but all these E. coli scares, right? Coccidiosis, all these different bacteria that come in, coliforms in meat, unbelievable.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And that's what it is manure management and animal welfare that comes 100%. And what you're feeding, are you feeding a product specifically grown as an animal feed, or are you getting rid of a waste product and trying to turn that into an animal feed?
I got to quickly say one thing here. So I had a guy ask me, so where do you get your sausage from? And now there's a guy that makes sausage, and so locally, and that's where I get it. And the gentleman that asked me, he said, well, you're nervous, like he, maybe the way he makes it. And I was shocked. I thought, like, what do you mean? Am I nervous? Like, do I trust somebody in a cottage industry who takes great pride and makes it all themselves? They're from start to finish.
Yeah. One set of hands.
Do I trust that person over Olimel or Maple Leaf, or who just there's like literally everything goes into the meat mixer, including probably the floor sweepings, because it's cheaper to throw them in the blender than it is to throw them in the dumpster and get the dumpster emptied.
How many on-farm food recalls have there been in this nation's history?
Yeah, I'm thinking probably 0.
How many do you see come out of commercial processing facilities?
I think it probably happens daily. The ones we see are probably the severe ones.
See are 6 times a year at least, right? And they affect thousands of people, right? So, anyways, I digress. we should take a left turn.
I'm excited, maybe for the
Okay.
wrong reasons, but
So you should pitch the cups.
pitch the cups.
You should pitch the cups.
One more time.
Yeah.
These cups, if there's anybody new who doesn't understand these cups are custom sublimated Bloom Enterprises cups and Kirkfell Farm cups. We give these away at the end of the live stream. We're going to go back. We're going to see who all commented. We enter your name into our name randomizer drawer machine, and we go from there. So within 3-4 days, we'll make notes on our independent channels.
We'll have a winner, chicken
And we'll have a
dinner.
winner. We'll get a hold of you, and we'll send you these cups.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. 2 more comments before I go into a different direction. Alberta Boy 74 said, my wife and I don't spend a lot of time online, but we enjoy our Friday evenings with you guys. And so,
Well, thank you.
not only for that comment, but to the rest of the crowd that tunes in, we genuinely appreciate it. I mean, it is enjoyable to spend the evening here,
It is.
even if there was nobody here, if we would just have a conversation about what we are each doing on our own farms. But to be able to share and have some dialogue and some discussion is valuable to us, and we appreciate that you guys spend your time in your evenings with us greatly.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. So we learn just as much as anybody does, right? But anyway, so let's go to left field. The briefcase.
Top shelf.
I just purchased this briefcase at the. I spent a time or two in the thrift shop looking for treasure, and I came across this vintage Samsonite briefcase manufactured in 1941, and it was $3.50. And why was it so cheap if it's such a vintage piece of luggage history? Well, because it was locked, and I had to guess what the password was to get in there. So $6.55. Boom.
You're serious. How long do you spend guessing that?
About 30 minutes.
Did you have an ear to it? Listen to it click?
No, I don't think it really works with that.
Okay.
You just got to go one number by one number. You just
That's
start with,
amazing.
you just go one side. Obviously, you're not going to keep moving both sides. But I was ready for the one side to be one number and the other side to be the other number.
If it's full of gold bars, it might be your last night on this earth.
Well, it's not. It's not. It's got some paper in it. Anyway, so at the beginning of this evening, we had referenced the fact that we've put all this work into the studio in such a way that it provides you with a good feeling. We talked a little bit about ASMR, the environment that it creates. So I want to know from you, what do you feel when you step into the room? Because this really isn't a room; it's actually just 2 walls and a mezzanine in the shop, right? Like, if you were to step over there, it's an entirely different environment
Yeah.
than if you step back here. So this,
What do I feel
what
like?
does this 80 square feet feel like?
Well, when I'm in here,
Yeah.
I honestly, I feel like important. I feel a lot better about myself
Yeah.
when I'm in here. I enjoy all the aesthetics. I like how it came together. I get a lot out of it. I really like being
feel
here.
the same way. So when you sit in the chair and you have the cigar and you have the Scotch whiskey, you feel like a goddamn king, don't you?
I do. I feel important.
Okay, so here's the next thing I got to do, and I gotta pull this piece of paper out, and I gotta read this very carefully because I can't get this wrong. Here's where I'm conflicted. I'm terribly conflicted. For the folks at home that know this,
This is spicy.
this is good. I grew up in the UK. When I left the UK 22 years ago, I had an English accent. Now this is somewhat dissipated. It still comes out from time to time. But why I'm conflicted is because when I talk to myself, or the voice in my head still has an English accent.
Interesting.
But when I speak out loud, of course I don't. So I hear my voice as I think it sounds. I hear my voice as it gets recorded, and then I hear the voice in my head. And so I really do have a split personality disorder. But anyways, I will do my best to read this as professionally as I can. I'm going to say your name a few times, so don't get embarrassed. And then we'll get into the surprise that's in the briefcase. Robin Bloom. As of the 28th day of March in the year of 2022, which is just the other day, in the 69th year of our sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth II, ruler, by the grace of God, of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, Northern Ireland, and her other realms and territories. United Kingdom, of course, encompasses Scotland, which we definitely enjoy partaking in their heritage, right? Let it be known that by virtue of the ownership of land in Scotland, upon the effect and receipt of this proclamation, in particular regarding the lands described within the accompanying deed, you shall henceforth and in perpetuity be known by the style and title of Lord, and shall hereafter to all and sundry be known as Lord Robin Bloom of Ardally. So for a small fee, I was able to purchase you a plot of land in Scotland, in Aberdeenshire, in Ardally. And so that is the deed to the land. This right here is the proclamation. You are a Scottish lord.
That is amazing.
And you cannot be a Scottish lord without tartan.
Tartan? What is tartan?
Tartan is a type of checked material that kilts are made out of. So there's your left.
Wow,
There's
well
your
thank
left
you very much.
turn.
That is top shelf.
And I will
That is
put,
easily the coolest thing I've
that
ever
was
got.
worth $3.50 for a briefcase.
That is interesting. Well, now I'm a lord. Huh. Well, thank you very much. That is most generous. To those curious, I am in fact now a lord.
Kind of a big deal.
I felt important here, and now I know I'm important here. That is pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, well, that's good whiskey. That is good whiskey. Anyways, back to the matter at hand. Canadian Peaches asked a question, they retracted it, so I'm not sure if they want to re-ask that one. Glenn said, is the better tasting pork worth the extra cost? It has to be worth the cost.
Absolutely.
Well, I've been to Costco, I've spent some time there, I'm a proud owner of a Costco card because there is some products that they do sell that is worth my while to go there and purchase. Meat is not one of them.
No.
If you buy pork chops from the Costco, you know, they'll be fairly pale, sometimes even almost gray.
They look like a jellyfish.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas if you were to purchase them directly off the farm, you'll see that they actually have the proper color to them. And it's hard to put a price on that, but I would say it is worth the while feeding out the pig, although you'll probably be upside down at the end of it. You think about nutrient dense food, it's well worth the investment in terms of knowing where your food comes from and knowing that it's not just paste.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I had told a lot of people that. I said it earlier tonight. The sale that you're making is only the extra. So when pork in the store, I'm not sure if I had that written down. I'll check. It's not free either. You know, it's $3.
No, I still say a price for it, right?
I thought I had that written down in here.
See if I can sort of fire in my shop here too. Is your burning good? You seem to be further ahead than I am.
Well, I was hitting it pretty hard during
Did you get the
chicken speech. I never hit the middle where it
never
got
hit
bad.
that? You just went right by it.
I did, yeah.
See, and I noticed when I got to the middle, I maybe had 2 puffs where it was just like, oh, and then after that, it's definitely taken. I can get that.
So I had a wee bit of a tangent, and this must get into Glenn's thing about, you know, does the taste offset it more than the taste. So on a side note, shopping local for meat or produce has benefits far exceeding any financial resources it may take. Producers, most of them anyways, are passionate about what they're doing and will ensure at all costs their livestock and the commodities are safe and looked after. This is important to note because Even though the margins are tight, a local food source will most likely exist regardless of global economics, global politics, global weather events, or global whatever. The least people can do is support the local producer. It is also undeniable that there is global uncertainty at record levels these last few years, and those that follow are seeing a real possibility of a global food shortage on the horizon. With war, sanctions, fertilizer shortage, disruptions in the supply chain affecting parts availability for machines, it is a real possibility if we are to see any adverse weather conditions in any major agricultural area on the planet in the next growing season that we will see a dangerous dip into potential famine type scenarios. Without trying to scare people, April 1st, here tonight, it is time you think about where your food comes from and what you may do if it wasn't available in the store tomorrow.
That's true. I mean, you obviously put some thought into writing that down, but very, very true. We've both had those discussions here during our live streams as well as during our individual, discussions on our channels. We just built the barn and we know we're upside down in the barn in terms of cost recovery in our lifetime. But the sustainability of the farm for our kids is more important. And when we were building the barn, we ran shy of gravel, so I had to fly to the Bumblebee, get a load of gravel coming here. And the guy that delivered the gravel just ordered a new gravel truck. He said, you wouldn't believe, the things you cannot get. I get parts, I get new vehicles because there's a microchip shortage, but the gravel box for his new pickup is gray because his other gravel truck is gray.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot buy gray paint. So, okay, well, the guy's he's like, well, whatever, just go get cans of Rust-Oleum gray paint and just spray that on. And the guy at the not the dealership is like, I don't think you understand. There's an ingredient in gray paint that you cannot get. So, there's no specific industry that's at any point in time immune to things that are, causing these challenges with supply chain, with food issues, all these things. Literally every industry in the world is being affected right now.
Very much so.
Right? Glenn says, it is a good reason to get all dressed up and have a drink on a Friday night. Yeah, I think it is.
Oh, it definitely is.
I think it is, yeah.
Another thing, that adds to much more than just starting something at 8 o'clock, right? There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to tell me, or watching, maybe not you, but maybe my wife said, well, let's watch a movie at 8 o'clock at night. I don't know if I'd have the stomach for it. I really don't. I'm almost 41 years old, and so 9:30, I'm kind of tuckering out, right? So I that's what I said before. I genuinely appreciate the folks that come in and they sit and they have this discussion and this dialogue with us, because to invest that time on such a night is, I really appreciate it. Personal taste things, Glenn, and how are those cigars tasting now? Yeah, I'm not heeding the warnings.
Maybe we're turning into more veterans than amateurs.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe our palates have matured.
Because we've hit 6 of these big cigars, at least 50 rings plus.
Well, the last one was 7.5 inches, 48 ring gauge.
It was 48, but that was a Churchill, so it was longer.
It was longer, yeah. Whereas this is a Figurado, is what they call it. Yeah. I should shut that off.
Can anyone hear the furnace going?
Can you hear that heater going in the background? Hopefully it's not causing too much background noise. But anyways, if I'll get into potatoes here. Potatoes is a big fan favorite of mine. I've grown potatoes literally all my life. From my parents, they had a garden, and they always set aside a space in the garden for me to grow something, and it was usually potatoes or pumpkins, if not both of them, right? So looked at potatoes per acre. The one thing with potatoes is generally half your output revenue is equal to your input cost in terms of purchasing seed potato. But if over a course of an acre, your yield for potatoes in mediocre growing soil, the average, you should be getting 10 tons of potatoes or 22,000 pounds of potatoes in an acre. So a pound of seed potatoes is going to yield you 10 pounds of potatoes. So we went with Norland. That's again another favorite brand that we use here. They're approximately $5.15 a pound. 1 acre requires 2,200 pounds of seed potatoes, so $11,330, right, to get an acre's worth of seed potatoes. They mature in 8 to 10 weeks. Depending on your climate. If we had a year like last year, you're probably going to have to keep them in the ground longer. And so, you sell those potatoes for 97 cents a pound. This is Walmart's price, so you're not going to find a cheaper price. Walmart sells them for 97 cents a pound. So 97 cents a pound times 22,000 pounds is $21,340 minus your $11,330 for the seed. Profit of $10,000 $10,010. And again, there's $2,500 that goes for taxes probably. Now the one thing I didn't do the math on is the infrastructure that's required for that, because it's totally scalable. I could grow an acre of potatoes here, and I could do it all with a shovel and a broad fork and a harrow. Or you could get a tractor and a hilling machine and a rototiller. You could blow your brains out and spend 40 grand your first year to get everything you want to grow an acre of potatoes. Or you could keep it fairly small scale, and you're probably going to spend, to get only an acre, you're probably not worth it to get all that machine. If you're going to go 5 acres, then it's probably worth your time. So potatoes, 10 grand. Really good cash crop. Really good cash crop. Probably not the best one, but still really good. Next one I got. You can't eat this one, but it is a cash crop. Will grow right beside your potatoes quite happily. Is lavender. So lavender, again, fan favorite right here. We have the lavender essential oils in the background there going through the diffuser, helps cut down on the cigar smoke. Scent in the shop. We have it happen in our house. We can make soap out of it. We can make bath oils, all that kind of stuff, right? So seed to harvest lavender takes approximately 3 years, so it takes some time to invest in it, but it can be sold in bundles for approximately $10 each. An acre can yield 12,000 bundles over a 3-year period, and that's going to sell for about $40,000 a year. So a little bit more than potatoes, right? And again, infrastructure-wise, you just need basic garden tools for that, right? So you could spend $50 or you could spend $5 grand. Really depends on how far you want to get into it. But the money, and this is to wrap this one up. Garlic.
I've heard garlic has been a big one.
Not just any garlic. You could sell gourmet garlic. So the average garlic sells for like, $2-3 a pound, right? But gourmet garlic sells for significantly higher. You seed it in the fall. Some areas will seed it in the spring, but we seed it in the fall. It cloves out during colder temperature. Harvest it midsummer, and it's going to sell for approximately $15 to $16 a pound. Right? So significantly higher than you're going to see for your average just white garlic, right? So an acre is going to yield 15,000 pounds of garlic at $15 a pound. So I don't know how quick you are at the math there, but that's $225,000.
So where do we get some garlic seed?
So we need to find some garlic seed. Now, of course, if you're going to buy gourmet garlic, as I said, same with potatoes, same with lavender. 50% of your profit you're going to have to pour into seed. So you've got $112,500. You're going to have to pour into seed to get that. But if you can get a yield, and again, it's all on your marketability too. Can you get 15,000 pounds of garlic to market?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, if you try and you work and you get there, it's going to require some effort, but It can be done, but anyways, so for potatoes, lavender, garlic, yeah, I didn't include the cost of tools and equipment because there's such disparity in the needs, soil type, environmental conditions, whatever existing infrastructure you have. We did discuss previously growing animals on the farm. So if you have a mixed farm like we do, right, where we have animals and we have the garden, the animals provide all the fertilizer. So I don't have any fertilizer costs, right?
Yeah.
I don't have any soil amendment costs other than my own physical labor time, right? So largely I would say market gardening is probably where the money's at.
Probably where it's at, eh?
But it requires a lot more hands-on physical time to get there, right?
Absolutely.
So
We had a few here. They just popped up. I missed quite a few of them. I'd like to see the protein analysis between the 4-month pig and the 9-month pig. The low VMBA suck when selling by the pound, but much better in the freezer. I had it. Well, Stan actually brought this up. You know, he wanted to take side-by-side pictures on a YouTube channel. The gentleman I was talking to today, he said, yeah, he'd love to fry them side by side, and I had mentioned that too. I wonder if there's a way where you can actually send out a slice of bland, commercially raised pork and a slice of farm-raised pork to see the nutrient benefit either way, and if it would offset the cost. Jeremy said, talk to like an Englishman for us. My wife actually asked why you don't have an accent, but now I know.
So
it faded away. And then Max says, traumatizing or showing them how not to kill chickens. I used to rape, and also the techniques have changed. By the way, who are you, NFE? And then Justin, you guys should put a fireplace in for a background.
I thought about that. I've been on. You know,
I was watching the Weaver's auction. They had 120 volt electric ones.
the electric one. Yeah.
Then I got busy and I.
The best we could plumb in is natural gas, but it would require a bit of work to get in. But
Well, not too much.
not terrible. I mean, the gas line's just right there, but.
And I think there was
Could be
some
done.
that these comments weren't coming up on my phone. I'm just gonna touch this.
But yeah, I missed a bunch here too while I was ranting about garlic, but
They come up on here.
nothing better than homegrown potatoes. Way better, or way richer, better taste. So there was a study done in, I think it was like 2010, how the nutrition value of a potato had dropped over 50% in the last 60 years.
Of a potato.
Of a potato, from commercial farming, you know, and lack of crop rotation. And so the homegrown potato that you actually are working on your own addition of compost and soil amendments and things like that you can do by having a multi-species farm, right? Keeping sheep, keeping chickens, all that kind of thing, right? What you can do for your soil with that, downstream of that, obviously integrates a higher nutritional value to your vegetable matter, right?
You said I was allowed to cut the end of this off. She's getting pretty solid.
I don't really care. I mean, is anybody on here really? Does anybody really mind? I don't know.
Well, I don't want. Yeah,
This
this
is a lot of cigar. I've never had this much girth in my own hands, and that's saying a bit about me. But that's one the biggest challenge. I thought it was going to be the flavor profile of the cigar, but it's actually the burn pattern of the cigar that is challenging. And when I was reading about the cigar, I didn't include it in the synopsis of this, but the Antonio Gomez, the guy that created this cigar, when he built it, basically pushed the cigar to the absolute limits of where he could get a complete burn.
Okay.
Right. So now you think about what the climate is there versus what the climate is here, and you know, are we in optimal conditions? So it's not altogether unusual that we do have some challenges in getting it to burn cleanly. Anyways, Glenn did say, I've not found local pork to try yet. That's really a shame. You know, if there's local buy and sell pages, small farm buy and sell pages, I would recommend throwing it out there, seeing if somebody does have some. Well worth.
Where's Glenn at? He's Valley View or something, isn't he?
No, Glenn's. Glenn, let us know where you're at. I think you're further closer to Edmonton, I believe, right? Anyways, Canadian Peaches said 10 breeding rabbits over 5 years will make $31,000 if done right. Yeah, I mean they breed
Interesting.
like rabbits. They literally
That's
do.
an interesting one.
But that too is a niche market, right? So for me to try, I mean, there's people here that do it, and they're quite successful at it.
And quickly, you talked lots about community building. So I had a text message come across today. He said, we're very interested in getting some pork. What do you have? And I asked them where they were from. They were from Rycroft. I said, I'm going to pass you off to Brittany. Brittany's up in that area. Brittany actually has a channel too, and I'm going to do this for her, Burnt River Ranch.
Yeah.
Check that out. She raises a lot of pork. She's got great content on her channel. And as I said, I'm not looking to sell into the market. I'm more interested in educating those who aren't familiar with buying in the market to get in there, to get involved. That's where I spend my time.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeremy said, I should have been watching over here all night. Haha, audio and picture is better. Yeah, so you had this challenge last time on yours that the picture quality depleted for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. But
I might have to switch him up. So yeah, Stan runs off his iPhone. I ran off an iPad. I thought last time we did it on the iPad was okay, but maybe it's terrible anyways. So, but yeah, you're definitely more than welcome if you're watching on this channel. Jump over if you're not subscribed to Stan's channel, Kirkfell Farm. You can watch it over there as well.
It's not Kirkfell Farm anymore.
Because it's the Gentleman Farm.
Yeah,
right? Your farm is Kirkfell Farm.
You changed the name of your channel and it inspired me. So I've been conducting this social experiment, let's call it. I got on the TikTok, finally got on the TikTok, and so you'll see what I'm doing there. It's a bit of a flex, just in terms to see what the internet does, not necessarily a reflection of my character, but we'll just see where it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I renamed the channel from Kirkfell Farm, which is the name of the farm. The farm name obviously hasn't changed, to the Gentleman Farmer, and it's not necessarily that I'm a gentleman, but I'm not a gentleman. If that makes any sense.
You're no more a gentleman than I am a millionaire.
But what is a gentleman farmer? A gentleman farmer is somebody who farms for the pleasure of it and derives their primary source of income elsewhere. And that perfectly describes me. Right? I have a great love for agriculture, and but I am employed externally. People often ask this is a big question I get often on the YouTube channel is, what do you do for your day job? And I'm not a drug dealer. That's all that matters. But
your business is on the up and up.
Yeah, things are working out. So, but yeah, no, it's a good time, and I enjoy ag food, creating value for our family, integrating agricultural values into children. So you guys get to see it all. Canadian Peaches also say goats and sheep can be bred 5 times in 3 years. They can. It works better with goats than it does with sheep, and it also depends with sheep on the breed of sheep you have. Not every breed of sheep has that same cyclical pattern. Certain ones do, for sure. And then they say when raising sheep and goats, the older the buck, the better chances of having female kids when bringing higher prices. The meat is sweeter. So that's more related to goats for sure. I did not know that though, that the meat was sweeter if you have an older buck. And then Jeremy's got to take off. So thank you very much, Jeremy, for tuning in. As with everybody else, really appreciate everybody tuning in, learning a little bit, sharing their knowledge with us on how to make a profit on the farm. On just an acre, we try to keep it scalable so that whether you're a large farm or a small farm, you can relate to it. Whether you're a peasant or a lord. So. And verdict on the Balvenie? What do you think?
You know what? I have had it once before. If you remember the model, it was good when I had it. Then I had the Dalmore, and that is still number 1 by far.
The Dalmore may have just ruined other scotches for me.
if I was to compare, so what have we had? We've had the Dalmore, we've had the Glenfiddich, that Appleton is, that's a rum.
That's a rum, yeah.
So for Scotches, we've had that.
We did touch the Lafroig. We
Yeah.
just had a
We
nip.
sampled it, but so between the Dalmore, the Glenfiddich, the slight tasting of the Lafroig, and the Balvenie would be number 2. Yeah, so it would be
Balvenie's
two.
number
It would be
2.
number 2. I am still going to.
Number 2.
The Dalmore is still
Well, the
on the
Dalmore
top.
for me is definitely top of the food chain for sure. Interesting though that you think the Balvenie is number 2.
You're a Lafroig guy. We haven't drank that one.
Well, I think this is more, it's more sturdy, right? It definitely puts that fire in your mouth. The Lafroig is a more flavorful Scotch, and so this is where it becomes the battle of the palate, right? You know, the Dalmore is a very sweet Scotch.
That was just a damn
You know,
good drink.
it's like
That was just
if
good.
I had to compare white chocolate and milk chocolate, you know, and what am I? I'm always going to go to milk chocolate. So I think that's a far better flavor. But if I were to compare whiskeys by burn rate and flavorfulness, the second for me would have to be the Lafroig. But we have quite a selection here we built up. So I don't know, what do you think we should try next?
Actually, had a gentleman. He's got a bottle for us to try too. He says he's not a Scotch drinker. Somebody gave him, so he's going to drop that off. I'm not
That's
sure what
interesting.
that's going to be, but also, yeah, if anybody's watching and you're a Scotch drinker,
We would love a recommendation. Yeah.
you boys can try a local whiskey next time. Lat 55 makes a whiskey. Yeah, definitely. So there you go.
What kind of whiskey is it? Is it a rye?
I'll definitely look into it. We'll definitely look at getting ourselves a bottle.
Because I know a local distiller that's working on the thing, a custom blend specifically for us. It's a bourbon actually, is what it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be Scotch either. I mean, when our first live stream was the Appleton, we also have whatever that one is, another rum from
Florida
somewhere
Cana.
else.
Florida Cana.
We have
Yeah, that's
options.
Yeah, there's lots of options. There's Islay Journey. There's a lot of whiskey gets made in the Isle of Islay. Aberlour, Glenmoray. There's a half a heel left of Glenfiddich. So there's even some Dalmore left.
There is. Yeah, we don't finish the bottle for sure.
Wheat King says you guys need moonshine. Make no mistake when I say there's some custom stuff being built for us. I'm not going to come right out and say the words, but
We did that before Christmas.
arrangements have been made.
There's irons in the fire.
Yeah.
There's irons in the fire. Well, this is what we've been at almost 150 minutes.
This may be
So
the
this-
shortest one we've done.
This is
actually.
definitely, this is the shortest one.
So in the next day or so, let us know. Well, I mean, you put the poll out, I'll put the poll
Yeah,
out.
we're gonna do some more things on our community
What
pages.
would you like to hear from next? You know, it was surprising actually. This one, I certainly didn't think this was going to be the subject that was going to
I didn't
get the
either.
majority vote.
When I put out my poll, and for the folks that are watching, if you haven't seen it, it's still on there on my community page. I had a fan favorite, or I had a personal favorite that I wanted to talk about, and this, just like a Canadian election or a Western election, was basically split. It still didn't get the majority, but it had the most votes, so we covered this.
Well,
one.
and it needed to be talked about.
Absolutely,
You know,
it did. Yep.
It's never.
Well, they all do.
It's never a subject that we're not going to put a subject out there that's, white bread and doesn't need to be discussed. But I thought for sure people would want to talk about poverty and famine.
I did too. And
What are we going to do when World War III hits? But my band is coming.
Mine came right off. It's so
Mine's
hot.
coming disconnected. So
Well, that's what they said would happen, right? Off.
yeah. So
Glue warms up.
keep that one.
One
in
comes
the-
off.
keep
You get
that
the
one in
whole.
the collector's pile. And then I still have 3/4 of a piece of firewood here. So that's a lot of cigars.
I didn't realize it when I bought it. I just kind of, we should give a shout out also to Cedar Gems. So Stan acquired some more cigars from 2 different areas. However, I guess our go-to up until now had been Cedar Gems, and probably will be going forward. There, I would say they're a top-notch tobacco shop in Grand Prairie for variety, and there was a lot in there.
So we said last episode there were how many cigar shops in Grand Prairie? There was 2. There was Sheffield and Sons, which was more of a newsstand and sell vape juice and whatever. They'll sell anything kind of thing.
Corner store,
right? Cell phone chargers, all that kind of stuff, right? For Cedar Gems is a very specialty shop, and then somebody had suggested Al's News.
Yeah.
So I stopped in Al's News because I've lived in this area now for 22 years, never been in there. Which after now I've been in there, I'd say this was actually a really cool little store.
Why have I never been here?
It's more of an art gallery than it is. I mean, I only saw 2 newspapers in that whole store, but lots of cool stuff, lots of collectible items, and of course cigars. So I did buy a couple of what were they called again? I can't even remember.
I don't remember either.
They're
in the bottom.
Bolivars. They're 4 3/4 by 50 ring gauge. They're a fairly girthy cigar as well. But yeah, he's got a pretty good selection, and sat there and chatted for 40-45 minutes. Didn't expect that. And at the end of it, he actually gave me a VIP customer card and said next time you come by, buy cigars, it'll give you 10% off.
Holy moly! So Cedar Gems got some work to do.
Well, I mean, he even said, I mean, if you bring me 5 dozen eggs, we can have a conversation.
Interesting.
So we should
We'll have to give him the whole package, wrap up some porks and lambs and beefs.
Yeah, Glenn just said I'm going to be looking for farm pork tomorrow now. We've had Costco chops tonight. Stan's on TikTok. Wow. Get that youth content. So
You're welcome, Glenn.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And thank you, Justin.
I've had my wife's friends for I don't know how long telling me I should get on TikTok and just corner the market, because I already have Instagram, I already have Facebook, we're on YouTube. TikTok would just round that out. And I always thought it was kind of a nonsensical thing. I still kind of think it is.
I do too. But it's addictive.
But and I don't watch it. I don't watch it at all. But I'll put a thing out there and just see where it goes. If it becomes a thing, that's great. If it doesn't, I'm not wasting any of my time on it. So. But you can, you millionaire farmer. I tried to call my channel on TikTok the Gentleman Farmer, but somebody already had that, so it's the Gentleman Farmer 1.
So we gotta find that guy.
You gotta find that guy and break his legs, or I don't know what
break his phone.
Ruin him on TikTok. But I highly doubt he's willing to concede. But anyways, that's fine. Yeah. I never really got the harsh notes.
I didn't.
With this.
I was worried when you told me.
I'm definitely into the oily, earthy flavor. I mean, I can taste Fort McKay, not quite Fort McMurray, but we're there.
My face went numb about fucking 5 inches ago.
Speaking of face went numb, this morning, and it's a miracle that I'm even here right now, to be honest, and smoking a cigar and drinking whiskey, nonetheless. I had 4 hours of dental surgery this morning.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
So I mean, I was froze up. My whole cheek was swole right up. And dentistry on 43 in Beaver Lodge. Young guy, he's like 20. I don't know. He looks like he's 21 years old.
That's probably your most profitable acre.
Come out of dental school. Yeah, I mean there was like well over $1,200 spent at the dentist today. So. But did good work. Here I am. I'm not a hurting mess. Able to enjoy a cigar and a whiskey in the evening.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Excellent.
Wouldn't recommend it. My biggest source of anxiety, actually.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Mine too.
What else we got? You got anything else?
I had nothing else. I wasn't even gonna close with that, but I'm glad I did.
We should show them the crib board.
The crib boards, yeah, absolutely. We can do that before we go. Stan's got all sorts of gifts.
We're gonna show them your crib board. So, 1,000 years ago, in another lifetime, before I owned the farm, I was a wayward young man who took advantage of some time on the rigs, and I worked with a gentleman named Richard Hackett, and he's now well involved in custom woodwork, and so he created this custom crib board for Robin. So you want to open it up, see. So you got the crib board itself. You see the top comes off with the logo, and inside cards, the pegs, everything like that. So I did ask him. I said, "Do you have a business name or anything like that?" You know, it's just a hobby for him. So, but if you're interested in something like that, Richard Hackett is his name. You can go on Facebook, find him really easily, and turnaround time for something like that. He just does it in his spare time. So about a month, I think, to build something like that. And he made it out of curly maple. It does everything in hardwoods, oils it all nice. You know, does it all with a CNC machine. It's like a $20,000 CNC machine in his shed. All right, so pretty cool hobby.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't just do crib boards, like he does all kinds of wood sculpture with the computer, and just does it all through the CNC machine, sands it all down, oils it up. Looks amazing. He does some really cool stuff with like Harley Davidson stuff. Like Harley Davidson stuff. It's like $400 or $500. Really, really uptown art pieces, all with hardwood. So give him a look as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was like Christmas for me. I got everything here.
Well, I did ask you the other day. I said, "When's your birthday?" And then, because I already had this preloaded, and then you're like, "Oh, it's not till it's later in the year, right?" I'm like, "Well, this can't wait. I can't sit on it that long. I can't, because I'd be too excited." And I surprise it. So, early birthday gift, happy birthday.
Well, thank you. That is cool. That is. Yeah, that's by far the coolest thing. And so back to this space, like this fosters a lot of stuff, you know. Like we got, you know, if anybody's wondering, well, what are they doing with their humidors? Keeping them in a Pelican case or their cigar storage? No. We have a humidor. We have a top shelf glass top humidor. I'm sure if the folks that are still here, they've seen it before. But Stan, you still haven't done a tour of this on your channel. So Stan will do that.
I'll make the commitment. I'll make the commitment now. I haven't done it because we had a baby like 4 weeks ago.
That's true, yeah.
And so that has kept me tied up.
That was a gift for Stan. With everything he had on the go, I said, you can handle this humidor, because when you buy a humidor, there's a lot that goes with it. There's about a 2-week process to season it and to get it ready.
It's an investment
to receive the cigars. And I thought, you know what? This guy, he's got a baby on the way. He's got a barn build coming up. He's got livestock to look after. He's got things going on at work. What can I do to make life easier for him? I'll give him a 2-week project. But
you know what? It was a lot better than seeing a $50 cigar. I don't know what these cost, but they must be like a $50 cigar.
Wow.
Getting ruined by drying out or tobacco beetles or something like that. So a very value-added investment, right?
Absolutely. And now we can store them. So our humidor is a 150.
So we're not. I shouldn't have said $50. But now our wives are going to know how much these things cost, right?
I doubt they've stuck it out this long.
Carmen actually asked me the other day. She's like, "What did you buy at Al's News?" Oh, I bought some cigars and some humidor solution or whatever for the humidifiers, and it was like $85, right? So.
We did not pick a cheap hobby, but you know what?
There's worse things.
Mental health benefits. There's nothing like getting dressed up, having a good conversation. Cigar, scotch. It's well worth it.
That's right. I just spent $65,000 building the barn. It cost me nothing to walk behind it, so I might as well come in here and solve the world's problems with you.
Absolutely.
The world will be a better place at the end of it.
Well, I guess with that, what are we at? This is our longest one yet.
Is it? Did we cross the threshold?
Oh, absolutely. This is our longest one yet.
Just with small talk.
Absolutely. And with probably
227.
No more comments to touch on. NFE, you boys gonna? Oh no, that's old one. So
Glenn says it all tastes like muscat water to me. Could never handle scotch. Well, You know, I said this to, I forget who it was, asked me this question the other day when I asked what was their favorite tipple. I think Damon was one and Chad was another that said they weren't particularly keen on Scotch. The money you spend on a Scotch does dictate the flavor.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna buy a bottle of Famous Grouse for $27.80, you are gonna get, I'll be honest with you, Brian, that tastes like pure gasoline. Versus if you do spend, I don't know what, $88 or something, I think this I saw in the store the other day.
Yeah.
You know, some of these bottles, $70, $80, there's a couple there, that's $105. You can get there to where, you know, the flavor is incomparable with anything else. So if you're willing to make the investment, sure, you can enjoy it. It's not like a rye whiskey or a bourbon or something like. Well, even bourbon has some pretty stanky flavors depending
Well,
on what you get.
there's some rough ones all over for sure. And yeah, well, coming from two people that didn't smoke really or drink.
Yeah, we don't smoke or drink, right? Yeah.
Soon to be experts.
So, connoisseurs. We're getting a real nose for this.
Absolutely. Well, I guess with that, time to bid the folks adieu.
Yeah.
And shut her down for the evening.
Thanks everybody for joining.
Absolutely, we do appreciate that.
We'll tally all the comments here and get everybody into the Wheel of Fortune for the cups.
Absolutely.
And,
So to the folks that are with us here still, have a good weekend. Follow along with the channel. We'll do another live stream here, hopefully before spring seeding kicks in. And
buy a suit.
buy a suit. Maybe you'll be lucky enough to win the cups.
Yeah.
And join us, for the next one. Get dressed up.
There you go.
Grab a cigar. Grab a whiskey.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
All right. Good night, folks.
Good night.